Okay, now I can say good morning. Good morning, everyone. We're glad that you're here. It's so great to see all of you educators here this morning, and all of our visitors. We're glad that you're with us today. We want to begin today with a moment of silence. Join us as we center our hearts and minds as we begin the day. Thank you. All right, we have some wonderful recognitions today. Our first one is RISE Community Awards for 21-22. Mr. Waddle and Ms. Counts. Okay.
Hi, my name is Amy Counts. I'm the Director of Curriculum Projects here in Learning Services, and we are going to present RISE Community Awards today, which we're really excited about. Yesterday at the accountability report, we heard from leaders that represented schools and districts, schools on the move, talk about their efforts to improve the quality of education. And one thing I kept hearing over and over again was the importance of community involvement. Businesses and nonprofits working together to invest in students and provide additional learning opportunities. So hearing these stories just enhanced my excitement about presenting these RISE Community Awards today. This award was designed to foster community collaboration and build a culture of reading by capitalizing on available resources within their community. Our gold communities, Batesville, Greenbrier, Magnolia, and our bronze communities, Hope, McGee, and Friendship Aspire, Pine Bluff, have committed themselves to that work. These communities made that commitment to support literacy over a year ago and submitted events for review. They were evaluated on goals, partnerships, project plans, measures of impacts, and reflections on their learning. This sounds all very technical, but to hear these communities tell their stories, it's very exciting, the success that they've experienced and continue to experience. Many other communities across Arkansas have been stealing their ideas, which, as we know, is the highest form of flattery. The establishment of this award was made possible through the Federal Comprehensive Literacy State Development Grant that we received in 2019, which Stacy Smith had a hand in writing. And it was designed utilizing stakeholder feedback from the Arkansas Chamber of Commerce, the Arkansas State Library System, our RISE specialists here in the state, and Imagination Library. So a lot of feedback was put into designing this award. So I'd like to introduce Brandon Waddell, our CLSD Grant PR advisor, who's led this work.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you all for allowing us to be here and provide this time to recognize these communities and these districts that's put forth an inspiring and amazing effort in their communities. It truly was heartwarming to see and hear the stories that these communities have and the events that they put forward. And the overwhelming thing that we heard from these communities is that they put books in the hands of children. They built home libraries. They inspired families to come together and read, and that was not supported just by the districts, but by their communities. And it really took that it takes a village approach. And every one of these communities, we could spend hours up here talking about the amazing events, but we put together just a small highlight video of them and just to kind of touch on what they've done. And so I'd like to play that video. Dan will be doing that, and let you see for yourselves. Thank you.
This award process is an extension of the RISE initiative. We know that the three components of the RISE initiative are to strengthen and sharpen reading instruction. The other two components of the RISE initiative are to create a culture of reading and to build, cultivate community collaboration.
I think that was the shock of it all, is that we really saw some honestly community changing events. We really opened our eyes to the community would embrace these activities and these parts of the Scarborough's Rope and really enjoyed being able to apply the knowledge that we were pushing out for them to be able to participate. It was just amazing, honestly. We had a lot of partners in the community that helped us be able to be successful in each event. And I think that was a piece that we really loved, is that we had so many different stakeholders that were taking part in the events.
This award process took us to a different level of community collaboration.
Our city got on board, our business community got on board and like pushed us along and helped us and supported us. And so as a result, we impacted tons of families and kids, you know, because it took all of us. We just couldn't do the work by ourselves.
One of our biggest successes was just that we joined together as a community to have a buzz and an excitement about literacy and reading. And so through all these events, not only were children impacted, but local business and industry and families and our teachers got excited about reading and what we were doing, and are looking forward to continuing these events in the future.
All of our activities will be literacy based, and that's large in part because it was super successful.
You think about the impact of this award, but it also has you looking toward the future. What can we do next?
So we're honored to have 5 of the 6 communities here today to be represented and to receive their awards. So as I call your name, if one representative from each community could come up, and Brandon has your very fancy Arkansas trophy. Our gold, we had Greenbrier, Arkansas. And photos will be taken afterwards. We'll have formal photos. Batesville, Arkansas. Magnolia. And our bronze, we have McGee. Hope. And then we also had Friendship Aspire of Pine Bluff. They're not here today. But as you can see, we have them scattered all across Arkansas, which is really exciting, and a wide range of community types, which was one of our goals when we established this program. So thank you all, and I think now it's photo time. So. So we'll do Greenbrier first. So everybody, y'all come on here.
before you get out, I just want to say thank you to all of you and congratulations. Great job. And Ms. Counts, I don't know if she can still hear me. Teachers don't steal, we borrow, and we use it well. All right, we're going to take about a 5-minute break and give Ms. Yeah, okay, all right, never mind. We're going to move on then. Okay. Our next recognition is Military Family Appreciation Month. Ms. Som. Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So I'm here to present the resolution for the Military Family Month. Whereas more than 13,000 Arkansans exhibit profound courage and selflessness by serving in the armed forces, and whereas more than 6,100 military children attend public school in the state of Arkansas, and whereas military families live and work in every county in the state of Arkansas, and whereas military children face unique challenges related to military transitions and parental deployment, and whereas military children and their families serve as an essential source of support and encouragement for armed service members, and whereas military families should be acknowledged for the sacrifices they make and celebrated for the courage they display, and whereas the Military Interstate Children's Compact Commission, with which Arkansas is a proud member, the Department of Defense, and various other organizations nationwide recognize November as Military Family Appreciation Month. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Arkansas State Board of Education recognizes and salutes military families in Arkansas, the United States, and overseas by recognizing the month of November 2022 as Military Family Appreciation Month.
Thank you. We honor you as a military wife, and we know that it's not just the one person that serves, the whole family serves. And so we appreciate your dedication and all of these families. And so we gladly sign this. And I guess we do need to take a vote, I guess. Yes, I'm sorry. I'm speaking for the board, and that's wrong. Okay. So I do need a motion. Okay, a motion by Ms. Williams.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Now I can sign. Today's the 10th. We have a great honor this morning. We have a celebrity in our midst this morning, and we want to welcome Ebony Mitchell, Miss Arkansas.
So I'm Ray Girdler. Me and Ebony started working together about a year and a half ago. When I found out before she was Miss Arkansas,
Yes.
On our platform for online safety. She's been a great partner with the department. She's helped us. We have a social media awareness campaign. She helped us plenty of last year. Even coming up this upcoming Monday, we have a parent webcast in which Ebony's going to talk to young women, young boys, and parents. And we just are honored to have her here today. We're honored to have her part as our efforts here at the Department of Ed. And I would like to recognize Ebony Mitchell, Miss Arkansas, and let her talk to you all for a little bit.
Yes, thank you so much. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Everyone. It's an honor to be here, but yes, my name is Ebony Mitchell. I'm Miss Arkansas 2022, which means I will also go to Connecticut in about a month to compete for the job of Miss America and represent the state of Arkansas. So it's very exciting. But yes, a lot of my work that I do in the state of Arkansas is around online safety and protecting children from the dangers online, because we're online more than ever now. But about a year ago, I started on a really large project that I didn't know if I was going to finish before Miss Arkansas, if I was chosen to have the job of Miss Arkansas. So last year, I set out to distribute online safety materials to all 75 counties in the state of Arkansas, whether that's to a teacher or to a school district or really anyone who's interested. And then I found Mr. Ray Girdler, who helped me so much. And he gave me the contact of every single library media specialist in the state of Arkansas so that I could talk to them face to face and really let them know about the dangers of online safety. So that's exactly what I did. And by May, I have finished all 75 counties. So there is a school in every single county in Arkansas who has some type of online safety materials that I partnered with the Office of the Attorney General to get to them. So it's been a really great journey, and that's really what I do as Miss Arkansas. So if you follow me around on social media or anything, you'll see me in a lot of different places. Most days I'm in a different city, just doing some advocacy work or just speaking to children or to our leaders. So yesterday I was in Yellville Summit at their school district, and then I think by the end of this week, I'll be in West Helena, and then again, all over the state of Arkansas to advocate for this cause. And I have my first children's book coming out. So this will be all about online safety, because there's not a lot of children's books about it where they can understand it from their terms. So I'll be releasing that soon, hopefully by the end of the year, and hopefully before Miss America. So just in case I'm selected for the job, we have something in Arkansas that we can put a stamp on and be proud of, and really teach our children the importance of online safety. So that's what I've been doing. Also, the Miss America organization really is paving the way for young women, especially women like me who come from a single mother home in a very small town in Arkansas, who otherwise would not have had the opportunity to pursue my higher education. So because of the Miss Arkansas organization, I've completed a bachelor's degree as well as a master's degree at John Brown University and the University of Central Arkansas. So this organization has given me about $73,000 of scholarship that I've been able to put towards my education, and they continue to pave the way for young women. So if you know any young women who are interested in just being Miss Arkansas or pursuing a higher education, please point them towards the Miss Arkansas organization. But I'm excited to continue on my work of advocacy around the state, online safety, and I will probably see you at more schools soon. I'm in a school just about every single day, so leading the way for our youth and helping them to see a brighter future. But that's really what I do as Miss Arkansas, and it's really a pleasure to be here. So thank you guys so much for listening, and it's really an honor. So thank you guys.
We need to get on that one. Yeah.
Hey, y'all come out, we'll get a photo for teachers. Yes.
I saw a few others.
Are we all
So we are going to take a break from the business for pictures, so Sharon can get us set up with the with her system. So give us a few minutes. All right. No, and Ebony, I just want to say publicly thank you, because you're also doing a lot of work with the Martin Luther King Jr. Commission, going around with them for their youth nonviolence summits and the things that they're doing around the state. So I don't know how you're keeping up with the schedule, but from the Department of Education standpoint, through the work you're doing with Ray, the work you're doing with the Director Scarborough, thank you very much. You're a great ambassador for the state of Arkansas.
Yes, and I want to echo that as well. We just appreciate so much that you're doing, and most people think it's just a crown, but it's a whole lot more than that, and you are a great representative, and we appreciate so much all that you're doing for students and children of Arkansas. Thank you. Yes, I'm going to need to add it to the agenda. Let's make sure Ms. Sharon's ready. Ms. Sharon, are you ready? Okay. All right. We do have a couple of changes to the agenda that we'll need to vote on. The first one is we need to, excuse me, we need, got choked up after Miss Arkansas. We need to add to the agenda recognition of December 5th to 11th as Computer Science Education Week, and I do need a motion for that.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. McFetridge. Seconded, and then all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, and then we have one other one. We need to add to, we do have some public people signed up for public comment today, and we need to make a motion to add that to the agenda. If that's the pleasure of the board. I'm not pushing it. If the board would like to hear public comment, we'll do need to add that. Or make it, not necessarily add that, but make a motion to accept public comment. Now I've got it right, Ms. Freno. Okay.
I move to accept public comment at today's meeting.
Okay, I have a motion to accept comment. I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All right, so we'll begin with the Computer Science Education Week. I'm not sure who's doing that. Ms. Griffin.
Good morning. I'm Kelly Griffin, the Director of Computer Science Education, and I will be presenting the Arkansas Computer Science Education Week resolution. Whereas the Arkansas State Board of Education believes that every student in Arkansas deserves a premier computer science and computing education that supports college and career aspirations, and whereas the Arkansas State Board of Education supports the state in its efforts to remain a national leader in computer science, in computer technology careers through the implementation of computer science and computing initiative. And whereas the field of computer science has significant equity barriers to address, including attracting more participation by females and underrepresented minorities to all levels and branches. And whereas Ray Montague, the Arkansas native, who was a national pioneer for women and women of color in engineering and computer science, created the first design of a U.S. naval ship using a computer. And whereas Grace Murray Hopper, one of the first females in the field of computer science, engineered new programming languages and pioneered standards for computer systems that laid the foundation for many advancements in computer science. And the week of December 5th through the 11th, 2022, in honor of Grace Hopper's birthday on December 9th, is nationally designated as a Computer Science Education Week. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the members of the Arkansas State Board of Education, in honor of both Dr. Grace Hopper and Dr. Ray Montague, recognize the week of December 11th, or the 5th through the 11th, 2022 as the Arkansas Computer Science Education Week.
Okay. Do we have a motion to
The motion that we approve the resolution for Science Week.
Okay, we have the motion by Ms. McFetridge.
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Sutton. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, congratulations. We appreciate so much.
Kelly, before you go, could you give us an update on enrollment numbers? I'm not sure if the state board has heard the latest, so you could give us a brief update on that.
So I'm excited to share that last year we had around 12,500 students that were enrolled in computer science courses. This year, we have 23,544 students.
Wow. That's awesome. That shows a lot of hard work and progress that's been made over the last few years. So we appreciate it so much.
Thank you. One other thing I would like to share as far as the male-female percentages, we now have 64% male, 36% female. And I would like to share that with that number, it's going from around 4,000 females last year to just over 9,000 this year.
More than doubled. That's wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you.
So, I'm sorry. Could I have a question? Okay. So I am impressed with that enrollment figure, but does that create resource issues? I mean, like some unexpected strain on resources on the districts, or?
Well, we have worked very closely. I have a team of specialists, of 10 specialists, and we've worked very closely with them on working towards certified teachers and working with them on programs of study that best fit their district and their area. So I've not been told of that. No.
Thank you.
One thing that will be new going into the next school year, not this school year, but there's a requirement for a computer science teacher, and that is currently, the funding for that is part of the recommendation of the education committees, and will be addressed in regular session. But we'll work with Kelly, and maybe it's been a while since we've had an overall report on number of licensed computer science teachers. We'll work with Kelly to schedule a time where we can bring a comprehensive report to update everyone on where we are.
That's great.
I think it's a good success story, and it's continuing, and Kelly's doing a great job in her new role. And we're really excited about the direction things are headed.
Great. Thank you.
Can I ask a question? John, is the request on the funding to pay salary and benefit of one teacher? Or
Yes.
what's being requested?
Yeah, one full-time equivalent is going to be added to the matrix. That's the recommendation. And that would meet the requirement of the statute that was passed in the last session. And so the idea is that each high school would have at least one licensed computer science teacher.
Great, thank you.
Well,
Good job.
We have trouble regulating.
All right, we will move on to our consent agenda now. Does anyone have a question on the consent agenda or something that you would like to pull on the consent agenda? I did have one question, Ms. Douglas. I know you're going to be relieved that you won't have to answer my questions. Before we move on, I just want to say Ms. Douglas is leaving to take another position that the organization is going to be very blessed to have her, but we're going to definitely miss her because she puts up with all of my silly questions, and and she's done an excellent job, and we want to say thank you for all that you've done for us. Go ahead.
Did we ever vote on that? On her leaving?
No, we didn't. I'm not sure we could even get a motion, could we? No.
I don't know, Steve likes to vote against me, so.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes,
Thank you.
yes, thank you. I just on one of the items, the consequence was a 1-year level 2 public notification of ethics violation. Would you just remind us what that means for the educator?
It's a probation.
Okay.
So the level
2, 1-year notification is probation. Level 1 would be like equivalent to written reprimand. So the levels are equivalent to the licensure sanctions if they had a license.
Okay, so this was a 1240 teacher,
Yes.
and so this would be essentially putting that 1240 teacher on probation?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Any other questions or comments on consent? Okay, then I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Sutton. Second by Mr. Henderson. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. All right, on to our action agenda, and the first thing that we have is request for a waiver. Ms. Saraceni.
Good morning, Carly Saraceni. And I'm like you, Mr. Sutton, I think we should vote and it
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
Ms. Douglas is getting the educator.
Okay,
They are here.
all right.
This morning, again, this is a licensure action, so that we're clear. This is not PLSB, but yet Ms. Douglas is part of this as well.
Okay.
Because she's legal. What we have before you today is a licensure waiver, and this person, because we do not have a lot of facts, she will have to be asked that currently they are on the child maltreatment list. Okay, and so we have no documentation of the candidate, the teacher, the educator being removed at this time. Am I correct in saying that, Ms. Douglas? You will have to ask her specifically about the why, the when, and the how, because we do not have that particular information. And remember that you can look at your little handout. I think it was in your packet, the little handout about the child maltreatment, what happens when you go on the registry. They have to petition to DHS to be removed from the registry. And at this time, we have no documentation for that. And this happened in January. So we wanted to just, that is the facts that we do have, January of 2022.
The allegation occurred in January, or that's when we found out?
That's when we found out. Mm-hmm. And the earliest for removal would be January of 2023 that she could request removal, because you have to wait a year to be able to request the removal. I'm just trying to give you the facts that we do have so that you can make a decision based on the facts. Limited that they are, but at least you know.
Okay.
Okay, so at this time.
Well, let me get Ms. Freno a couple of questions real quick. Or I don't know who I'm supposed to ask, because if Ms. Douglas is representing the department, do I need to swear people in? I guess is what I'm asking. Okay. All right. So anyone that's going to testify needs to stand and raise your right hand. Okay. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. All right.
One other fact, her license is up for renewal, and so going through that background check process, this would also be cited.
Okay. All right. All right. You can come from, and if you don't mind, say your name so I don't butcher it.
Well, I did not say it as well.
Okay.
Janice
Jan-
Obiaga.
Obiaga, okay.
Yes.
Welcome, Mr. Obiaga. Could you give us some information?
In reference to where would you like me to begin?
Just information that would help us make our decision.
This is, it's not associated with employment or students. It's a family issue, and as much as she was stating that there is a lot of ambiguity about it, that's similar to what I'm dealing with. Family-wise, domestically, we're dealing with child custody and divorce proceedings, and so it's associated with that. There was an allegation which they a lot of that information is private when it comes to who makes the allegations, and some of the information that is included in the allegations. So I submitted a request to have the records, but as of today, I did not get the report. So, but the date that on the letter, as the date of the letter, the actual maltreatment title or heading says that I failed to provide for my daughter food, clothing, and shelter. And at the time of the letter, I and her father, my spouse, were still living in the same residence. So it appears to be just a malicious domestic issue.
All right, we'll see if we have any questions from the board. Ms. Woods?
I just want to make sure that I understand. So you and your husband are going through a divorce.
Correct.
Correct. And this is a custody issue that has arisen out of that divorce.
Can you repeat that?
So is the allegation it has arisen throughout the course of your divorce proceedings? Is that correct?
Is this an ongoing theme in the divorce? Is that what you're asking? No.
Okay. When the allegations came to light, when did you get notified that you were being placed on the maltreatment registry?
When was I notified that I received this letter in the mail? Probably the date of it, it says March 2nd, but it may have been the next day or a day or so after, because it was sent via mail, U.S. mail.
And was it your spouse or your ex-husband that made the allegation against you?
I'm not aware of who made the allegation. I mean, we have families. He has a family. I have a family. So there's a lot with that. My daughter is also going through treatment for a illness, and I'm not sure if it's. I don't want to speculate. I have my personal speculations, but I'll just leave it to what I do absolutely know, and that's not a lot about who made the allegation.
Okay, but the finding was that you failed to provide food, clothing, and shelter.
Correct.
But your testimony is that you were also living with your husband at the same time.
Correct. And I was providing those things. I was not working. I don't know if that's like a sarcastic way of saying that I was not employed at the time, but financially, I had resources that I was using to provide those things, not only for my daughter. I have 2 other children that I provided those things for during that time, who are not mentioned at all.
The subject of it.
Yes.
What do you teach?
What do my most recent teaching position was special education. I've also taught social studies. I've also taught general ed.
Okay. Where are you employed?
My most recent place of employment was Pulaski County School District.
And when did you leave that?
The day that HR contacted me was September 20th
Of this year? Okay. Go ahead.
Okay.
When did you begin teaching? How long have you been teaching?
My first teaching position was in 2013 at Jack Roby Junior High School in Pine Bluff.
Mr. Henderson?
Yes, thank you for your comments. You mentioned that you're waiting on some documentation.
Correct.
What's the timeline on that, and what was the time window of getting that documentation?
The timeline, or the stated amount of time, I was not given that. I was expecting to have that information available today at this meeting. The day that I mailed the information, I believe it was October 25th maybe, or the 26th. It was around that day or so. I think that was the day that I purchased the money order. But I didn't expect it to have the documentation for this meeting today.
Mr. Sutton, you have another question?
No, thank you.
Okay. Ms. McFettridge? Mr. Woods?
Will you share the letter that you received with us?
How? To read it or to?
Yes. I'm not necessarily asking you to read it out loud and,
Yes.
to the whole public, but the information in there might be relevant.
Some information that's relevant. It says that the Division of Children and Family Services, Arkansas State Police Crimes Against Children Division, received an allegation of suspected child maltreatment involving the above named people, which would be myself and my daughter. The incident was reported January 29, 2022. So at that time, I was still, we were still residing in the same residence, and my daughter was recently diagnosed with her illness, so we were in the hospital and in the house. We would daily, well, she was hospitalized at that time, so we would take turns staying in the hospital with her. Is there anything else?
Well,
Continue to read?
Are there any specific allegations?
Okay, excuse me. The type of maltreatment was neglect, failure to provide food, clothing, and shelter.
Any facts to support that allegation?
The next paragraph says, if I disagree with the investigative determination, I may request an administrative hearing. That there's no other facts.
Okay, so then did an investigator contact you?
The investigator that, her name is here, is on this letter. There was a day that, I think it was early February, that she came to the house And at the time, I was at the house with my two older children, and she went through the house and looked in the cabinets, and however a investigative walkthrough looks like. I've never participated in one of those, so it appeared that she was doing those things. And that was all.
Did she ask you any questions?
She asked questions to my children, and she asked me some questions. It's been so long ago that I can't stand here and verbatim or even really paraphrase much about that. That's why I really was trying to get the report, because the information here is, like I said, there's a lot of ambiguity about it.
Obviously, I'm concerned that we have almost no information.
I am as well.
I mean, I suppose I don't have any more questions.
Okay. All right. Ms. Hunter?
Do you enjoy teaching?
I have enjoyed teaching. I didn't teach for during COVID. My most recent teaching position prior to COVID, I was actually employed in the Pulaski County Detention Facility, and that was a different environment totally, and there was a lot of experiences that were enjoyable when you're providing education in that type of environment, and it's new, and so there were some enjoyable moments there, but it was a facility, a prison facility, an adult prison facility teaching juvenile offenders. So it was stress and enjoyable experiences there.
Ms. Hunter?
Could you just walk me through all of the roles and positions that you've held since, I think you said you began teaching in 2013 at Jack Roby, and then you've mentioned a couple of other positions that have been in that time, and then also highlight any gaps in employment and mention why you left each place.
I taught at Jack Roby in 2013 to 2014. I taught civics and economics. That was my first year teaching. I'm a non-traditional teacher. I went through the Apple program. So that was my first year. A lot of teachers in that program take jobs that in high need areas. So I've always been a resident of Little Rock, so I commuted to Pine Bluff, so I worked there the year, and my older children were school age, becoming school age, and so I wanted to be closer to the schools that they would go to, so just in case there was a need for me to leave work quickly, I could be there without the commute. So I took a position at a charter school the next year, and I was still a non-traditional teaching candidate, and I had licensing requirements to complete, and so I worked there as a social studies, I use the word coordinator because it was one social studies teacher, and I was responsible for providing the social studies instruction for all of the students there from 9th through 12th grade. So it was whatever the social studies requirements, civics, econ, U.S. history, world history, psychology, any of those. So I still had to complete my requirements, so I began to look for a job, another position where I could complete those requirements. I took a job in February of 2016 at Cloverdale Middle School, and I was given a mentor, and he worked with me to complete my requirements and to become a fully licensed teacher. And I taught Arkansas history, U.S. history, and 7th grade geography that year. So I worked in the 2 more school years. I taught Arkansas history again and geography. In my final year at Cloverdale, I taught geography. So geography for 3 years, U.S. history for 1 year, Arkansas history for 2 years. After that, I took the job at Pulaski County Detention. I was a general ed teacher, meaning that I would teach every subject on a online, a virtual platform. Well, it wasn't virtual because the students were in the facility, but I taught it on a digital platform. And I also, because of the needs of my students, some of them I directed them more towards GED. So I would facilitate them to complete the GED requirements, and the other students would do general ed. In March of 2020, COVID happened, and the facility did not allow any of the vendors, teachers, anybody that wasn't directly employed with Pulaski County Jail to enter. And so I completed the school year by sending work to the students and kind of just my, I guess he was called the liaison. He would take the work to the students, they would complete the work, and they would return the work to me. And I didn't work at a location from March of 2020 until my most recent place of employment with Pulaski County Special School District at Robinson Middle School, and I was a special education teacher there.
All right. Okay.
You said your letter said that you could request an administrative hearing.
Yes.
Did you do that?
Not in the ways that I guess is stated here. I went to the actual DHS facility. There was there was someone who came to the house on a few occasions, and I asked to meet. Well, she called me, and she asked about, because during this time we're still going through divorce proceedings. So by the time of March, I was no longer living in the home, and so, but my daughter was still living there, and so she contacted me to ask some information. Where are you staying? And I went there and I asked for assistance on how to proceed, and it just wasn't the most pleasurable or helpful experience. And so I asked several times for assistance doing this, and there was money associated with it. $10 doesn't sound like a lot, but when you are going through a divorce and you have other children, and then you have a child who, because now you're living in 2 different residences, and you are still providing at a certain level, that I didn't have access to that. And however trivial that may seem, that's the facts. And so I asked the ways to do it. They were just really not helpful with that. And addition to that, I never really bought into the this allegation, because it's not true.
So Ms. Obiaga, that's why the hearing would be
Yes.
important, because that was your opportunity, or would be your opportunity, to present evidence without that, it's very difficult for this board to take an action on your request here today. So I know you did come asking for ideas or suggestions, but I really do think it would be in your best interest to contact DHS, DCFS, and ask about that administrative hearing.
I've done that, yes.
Okay.
I have since done that, if that's a question. But prior to this going on the record, the day that I said I went to DHS, I asked for assistance with that, and I was given none, what I just explained. And after that, when I said I never really bought into it, that means I didn't check into it anymore after that. So that's why I went and applied for a job and was pretty much surprised, like, okay, so this is really on there. And the fact that they would allow it to go on there, and it's malicious, and it's always been malicious. But I mean, there are processes, but during this entire time, I'm also going through divorce proceedings, so I'm going to court with that. I was going through, I didn't plan on standing here and talking about a personal domestic matter, and I don't think that this was the venue to do that.
Yeah, we agree. And Ms. Saraceni, let me ask this question for the purpose of the board. Can this board delay action on this until Ms. Obiaga has additional information, or has had whatever happens in a hearing or other action that she might pursue before they would actually have to take action on this?
Well, unless the waiver's granted, you shall revoke, suspend, or place on probation the existing license. And this occurred when she pursued a new position with Pulaski County in the fall. And so when the background check came up, as she stated, that's when the hit occurred, and then this process started. When we talk about that, if you revoke the license, you can automatically, once she goes before the DHS board, and as soon as it's removed from that, then her license can be immediately reinstated. Does that make sense?
So this is a different type of revocation. If it were revoked, then if she goes to the hearing and it's removed, then she can come back, and would she have to come back to us for it to be reinstated?
I don't think so, but Ms. Douglas can speak to that better than I.
If you were to revoke her license, revoke or suspend, however you prefer to do it, her license is only valid through the end of this year, so that's what makes it a little bit quirky, and that she's up for renewal. You could revoke her license and then put a clause in there that states, and vote to state, if she provides documentation that she has been removed from the registry, that her license can automatically be reinstated without coming back before.
Okay, so we just have to make that part of the motion again.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Can I ask a question about that?
Sure.
But what would the effect be if that reinstatement were available to occur in, say, February of next year, after the date for her renewal has passed?
She would just then do all the steps that are required for renewal.
Okay.
This would just be a non-issue.
Okay. Any other questions from board? Do you have any questions for Ms. Obiaga or Ms. Douglas?
So I guess I
Go
do
ahead.
have one more
Okay.
question procedurally. What's the difference between revoke and suspend in a situation like this?
Ms. Douglas?
The sanction is essentially the same in that you can't be in the classroom. But as far as the suspension goes, you typically suspend through a period of time that the license is valid. In her case, her license is only valid through the end of the year. So suspending it outside of its validity doesn't really make much sense. So you could revoke it and it can be reinstated, and that covers any gap in time from it not being valid, if that makes sense.
If we suspended, then that clause would not, but,
The difference is you're going to have to suspend it indefinitely because
Yeah.
you don't know when
Right.
potentially she could get reinstated.
right, okay.
So the cleaner way to do that would be to revoke it and allow the clause that if she were to get removed, that she can be immediately reinstated.
Okay. All right. Does that make sense to everyone? Ms. Song?
Is there a financial implication with revoking and suspending? Would it cost her money to reinstate with revocation versus suspension? Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure, that it wasn't financially going to punish one way or the other. Thank you.
It would be the same process, the $75 fee to do just renewal license.
I just want to make sure, was there a date that you were supposed to have requested your hearing by in that letter?
The date of the letter?
No. So in your letter, I'm trying to find out if there was a time period in which you had to request, or otherwise it was considered waived.
It said in this letter, 30 days from the date of the letter.
And you received that letter when?
March 2nd.
So we're past the time period.
Have you requested a hearing?
Yes.
And have you heard back anything from that?
I did everything that I was supposed to do, including request the report. I don't have the report. So the recommendations that have just been presented only appear to continue the very thing that I am basically saying is a malicious attack from whomever, and not being able to work. If I not being able to work, and it is a a family issue, but because of my profession, something that I still am with my daughter daily. I still visit with my daughter on other days, and I provide those things for her, which I have always provided those things for her. That's the factual information. This is speculated, but it's allowed to be submitted as fact. And me not being able to work in my profession, which I've invested time as well as money. The Apple program is a self-pay program.
Okay. Ms. Douglas, I have a question for you. If she has missed the deadline for a hearing, what would be a procedure for her from that point?
So now she would have to only submit to be removed off of the registry.
Okay.
Her appeal process for the initial placement on the registry, that appeal process to have a hearing on that has passed. So after being on the registry for 1 year, she can petition to be removed from the registry, and that would be January of 2023.
Okay.
And then you get to, if that is denied, you have to wait another year.
Okay. So in January, she could petition to be removed, and so that would be, instead of putting in a motion, if that's the board's pleasure, instead of putting there about the hearing, it would be the removal.
Right, so if it provides documentation that she has been removed from the registry, then you can reinstate.
Okay. All right. Any other questions from board members?
I guess for my own clarification, am I correct by hearing the certification expires in December? So if you factor in the holidays, we're talking about just a few weeks here. So I guess what I'm asking is, if we choose to suspend or revoke, what's the difference on the license expiration? So
Is
it's my understanding, and Ms. Douglas will back me up, because she's come before and asked for a waiver, you have to act on the waiver, because unless the waiver is granted, it's automatically revoked, suspended. Am I saying that correctly by the statute, by our rules?
Correct. So because this is a disqualifying offense, you either have to grant a waiver or deny a waiver. You can grant a waiver with conditions, which we have done in the past, and that would be, the waiver is that we're going to revoke your license. Condition, it will stay revoked until you can provide documentation that you have been reinstated, that you are no longer on the registry, and then automatically can reinstate that license. And then anything that's pending as far as her licensure renewal would just be normal steps that she has to go through.
So to make sure I understand, if we did, let's just say we did nothing.
Right.
She gets taken off. The only difference is if we had granted something, it would be automatic versus her having to reapply.
Right, so if you do nothing you can't do nothing.
Right.
So that's not even
If this
an
had not
option.
come here,
Right.
would she just have to reapply, or if by virtue of us, let's say we approve or deny, it would
Right.
just automatically happen?
Right, so because she has a disqualifying offense, the board has to take an action. And so she is denied. So I guess if the board doesn't take an action, she's just flat out denied and cannot work in an education entity.
Can I have a question? In addition to that, there is documentation, reputation-wise, career-wise, and attached to my teaching history with this process, if no action is taken or the license is revoked or suspended.
Is there a question in there?
That's the question, yes.
Would there be something attached to her license if it's revoked?
Yeah, she's denied. She's denied. She can't work in an education entity.
I guess what her question is, would it be permanently attached to, if she was ever reinstated, would this be permanently attached to her record?
No, it would, once reinstated, it's no longer revoked, it's reinstated, you move on. The waiver was granted.
But is that in the record? That's the question. Whenever you apply for educational jobs, which I have applied for jobs during this time, a lot of the questions on applications state, have you ever had a license suspended or revoked?
The answer would be yes.
Correct. That if that was the case,
right.
But that is the issue. If this is again not reflective of my teaching, it's not associated with any school or my students. It is supposedly with my daughter, whom it's not true, and I constantly have denied these facts, and it's not even a personal denial of those facts. These facts are easily observable.
So the way that the law is written, it says if you are on the child maltreatment registry and you are up for renewal, they shall not renew a license based on someone that has a true finding on the child maltreatment registry. They shall revoke, suspend, or place on probation that license if they would like for it to be a waiver to be granted. But the law says the law does not require that maltreatment registry to be something that happens out of school or in a classroom. It just simply says if you are on the registry, that is enough and you should be revoked.
Any other questions? Dr. Hill, I didn't give you an opportunity. Okay. Anyone? And I see Dr. Moore's name up there. I'm not sure she's online or not. Dr. Moore, did you have a? Okay.
I guess I have
Mr.
a
Wood,
question about
go
the
ahead.
procedure of this. Is it within our authority to grant the waiver request even if she continues to be on the child maltreatment registry?
Yes.
So it would be our judgment of whether or not the alleged offense is sufficient enough to prohibit her from continuing to work in an educational institution?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll just say this. As a member of the Little Rock School Board, I was a pretty hard no on most waiver requests when non-certified employees would come and ask. And I did allow, and considered the circumstances, and would, from time to time would understand extenuating circumstances. In my experience, it rarely involved what I would, it was more direct than this. This failure to provide food, clothing, and shelter seems a little different than striking a child or direct abuse. I'm not commenting on which, I'm not saying the failure to provide food, clothing, and shelter is less offensive, but I guess I'm kind of saying that accidentally. I would like to hear from any members of the board that would make an argument that such an offense shouldn't disqualify someone from teaching in a school. If it was striking a child, if it was direct, harsh abuse, I wouldn't be very interested in the conversation. But if someone has an argument to make that that type of offense could be overlooked with supervision or whatever, then I would be up for hearing it as I consider my position on this.
Can I get Ms. Douglas to answer one question before we do that? Ms. Douglas, you said deny, revoke, or grant the waiver, but you also said probation. What would that mean if that was considered?
You could put her license on a probationary status.
But would she's up for renewal in December, then would she be able to go through the renewal process?
Yes, because probation does not prevent you from being in the classroom.
Okay, so she would be able to renew if we were to do the probation?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Yes. Now, let's get someone to comment on what Mr. Wood said.
Jeff, this is any of these true finding cases, and this obviously is my opinion, it's so difficult because we have no information from DHS. There's a fallacy in this whole process. I don't know if it needs to be overturned by the legislature or what, but how we hear one side of it, and that's her side, and that may be the right side. But it really puts us in a tough spot. She's in a tough spot because of this whole process. And I'm not saying, again, I'm not judging whether it's true or not true. It's frustrating to me. I mean, I can't tell you, I can't support an argument one way or the other. It's just doggone ridiculous that we have, DHS hides behind a screen and we have to make decisions.
I would tend to agree with you. I mean, because it seems that just an accusation lands you on the list. And it is unfortunate that there wasn't a hearing to get to the bottom of it and truly understand so that we can deal with all the facts.
Here's my heartburn with all of this. Is I don't know if I feel like you care one way or the other how this pans out, and that may just be something on my part. You wouldn't be here if you didn't care. Did you? Do you know what Legal Aid is? Have you followed up with them to be your representation?
No.
Okay. I know that trying to get off of the maltreatment registry, this is not the first one of these that we've seen, and we've talked to a lot of people about trying the process to get off. And so I understand telling you if we were to revoke it and say, go get off the maltreatment registry, that could be a year or more. I mean, to be very fair. And so I struggle with that. But at the same time, I'm also like, if my license were on the line, I would have made sure I got my hearing. And I understand you think that these allegations are just made up, and so therefore you're like, I'm not going to give it the time of day because I need to focus my energy elsewhere.
No, I don't think you have a clearer picture of exactly what happened. This information was presented to me in September. And September 21st till today, I've been actively working to make sure that I was able to present an accurate depiction of what happened. This is two different entities. At the time when these allegations from child maltreatment, I was not working as an educator. So there was not even the idea to come to the Department of Education in reference to it. So from September, when HR came to me, I've actively, weekly or daily, doing something to address these issues. So I don't know exactly when you say I don't care, that's difficult to process in reference to education or providing for your children, especially when the allegations include failure to provide for your children. So most definitely, that's something that I care a lot about. Yes.
No, and that wasn't my insinuation, and I apologize if that's no, what I was saying is, if I would have gotten that letter in March, I would have taken the active steps to get my hearing, and it wasn't until September when it basically you testified that it came to light that you were like, oh, something actually came of this.
Correct.
That's where I'm at.
Any other questions on the matter? Ms. Psalm?
If the waiver is granted, would you be able to return to employment in Pulaski County immediately? Is that something the district decides, or?
That was the conversation with HR at the time. Yes, they gave me a letter that stated that I was able to, and it's in my file, that I could apply for any job that I'm qualified to apply for. And the specific job, my building principal stated that I was welcome to come back to that job.
Have you requested any letters of reference from prior employers or current employers? If you haven't, I strongly suggest that you do that to help your case. You know, if this side of my brain tells me that this is from a domestic dispute, your divorce proceedings, what have you, malicious as you say, and I hear you say that it didn't spill over into the classroom, there's certainly no facts to that in that regard. As pertains to future employment and obtaining license, you need, if I were you, I would paper up recommendations to show that it didn't spill over. I mean, it hasn't affected your job performance. That's my recommendation to you. If you don't see any importance in that,
No,
that's fine. I'm telling you,
no,
it makes a difference.
No, it's not that I don't see importance. I'm trying to process exactly the time. You are aware that school started in August, and so I worked at that particular job from August to September. And so my experience there, that's who I have the ability to ask for some type of reference from. What are you suggesting, that someone you
go back to everybody that you've worked for, and just say, look, I've got to go before the DHS. This is, affecting my ability to work and obtain my license. It's just kind of common sense. I mean, you need to try to stack some of the cards in your favor.
All right.
It's just a suggestion.
I hear what you're saying.
Yes. Any other comments? Ms. Hunter?
So do we have the option to grant the waiver subject to, like, for example, active pursuit to be removed from the registry? No.
It's my understanding from previous ones, we grant it in whole, and there's nothing we can further say about it.
Unless it was a probation, would probation have stipulations, Ms. Douglas?
Yes, you could put some stipulations on it. I don't know how you would police active pursuit of DHS removal. I don't know how you could quantify that or even measure it. What
Could
would
you
need to
give
be
a time
provided.
period that in X number of years the removal had to occur? I mean, or?
You could, so, Ms. Abiaga didn't have a hearing. She's on the registry. All she can do is petition to be removed from the registry. She can only do that once per year. So you could, you have several options. You can table this to see if she gets removed, and in the meantime, her license will not be renewed, and she would not be able to work because she will be denied in the system, and have her come back in February and update you, and provide information. And I don't know if the board is aware, like the factors that you're supposed to consider are the educator's age at the time of the offense, circumstances surrounding the offense, length of time since the offense, educator's subsequent work history, educator's employment character reference, and other evidence demonstrating the applicant does not pose a threat to health or safety of school children or personnel.
Okay. You understand those last two things that she just read are what Mr. Sutton was alluding to, that we don't have the evidence as far as classroom experience and classroom, what happens in your classroom. So that was what Mr. Sutton was trying to tell you, that is something that we also consider. Any other?
Ms. Newt?
Yes.
If in the probationary response as a principal, what would you be comfortable with? What based on, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I understand everything that everybody is saying, but there is subjective nature going on here in a very unspecified way.
Yeah. And
this is a livelihood, and the probationary with more information, 90 days, come back to see it may be fair, but from a standpoint of protecting children, which is our priority, which is our responsibility.
Absolutely.
And I think as our board chair and from the classroom, which you have more experience, do you have a comfort level one way or the other before somebody make a recommendation and we vote?
I understand what Mr. Woods was saying a while ago, that this was something that happened in a home. But the thing that bothers me a little bit about it is I don't have anything as far as evidence of what happened in our classrooms. And so that's the turmoil that I have with that. All we've got is this one sheet of paper and the allegation, and we don't have anything from principals, co-workers, parents. We don't have anything like that as far as what actually happened in the school. And you heard what Ms. Douglas read as far as what we consider. And so that's the part that I'm uncomfortable with there.
Did I understand, Ms. Douglas, one of the things we could do is table this until, and revisit it after she has made her appeal before DHS?
Yeah, you have that ability as a board. I don't know what the timeline on that will be, so I couldn't give you a date on when to revisit it. She can petition in January of 2023 to get removed off the registry.
Yeah, I think that timeline may be too long. I think the timeline of tabling, if you table it till December, that would give her time to go back to the buildings principals that she worked for to see if she can put together the support that would help you all make a decision. Right now, I'm not sure how you have enough information really to make a decision one way or the other. And I know it's another month, but it's a month that might be well worth the time for both Ms. Obiaga and for this board.
Potentially, she could have the full report from DHS by then that she could provide to you all so that you have more of the facts surrounding about how she landed on the registry to begin with. I understand that maybe her position on that is, I don't know that you don't have that report at this time, right?
Not as today.
Okay, you thought you would have it by now, but you don't, correct? Okay. And so then she could provide that for you all to have an understanding of at least what DHS is saying as to why she's on the registry. I know that she has some disagreement with some of that, but she doesn't have the report either. So she could provide that to you along with character references, any kind of work or anything that you might want to consider to make an informed decision.
With a teacher teaching as long as I have been teaching, if my professional aptitude was in question, there would also be documentation in that respect as well. I would have been written up, I would have been suspended for days. Those are things that, and those things, I've never had those issues.
But you see, we don't have any evidence one way or the other.
Correct, but
So-
those things are, most of those things are are those things that are accessible, are publicly accessible, things like that in your public folder?
No, those are not held in the licensure folder. You would have to contact previous administrators and ask them to write you a documentation or HR to say, can you provide an update or a synopsis of my work experience with this district to show that I was not written up or received any disciplinary action.
Just to make sure I'm clear, Ms. Douglas, you did say if we decide as a board, decide to table this, that she will be unable to work until February? Did I hear that correctly?
No.
Okay.
So if you table it to next month, she cannot work until a waiver is granted.
Gotcha.
So if a waiver is never granted, she can never work. So because it's a disqualifying offense, she is denied and ineligible to be employed in an educational entity. So the only way that she can go back to work in a district is to get the waiver granted. If you table it to next month for her to provide more information, then you can make a better decision on if you feel comfortable granting that waiver.
So that's what the secretary, that's what you're basically recommending, the action and more information before we make a decision. Is that?
However you want to accept it as a recommendation,
Right.
suggestion.
Yes,
but
yeah.
Yes,
Because we want to be fair on both sides.
Yes.
Can I ask, what's the difference between that and denying the waiver subject to removal from child maltreatment registry?
I think, from my perspective, denying it means you've accepted the fact that being on the registry just prohibits her from being in a classroom.
Right. And I guess that goes to the nature of my question a minute ago, and I haven't heard an argument to suggest that denying food, clothing, and shelter to one's child is not a prohibitive action to keep someone out of a classroom. Let's assume it's all false. Okay, whatever DHS's finding was, she's going to say whenever she brings the file in, she's going to say this isn't true. So we're going to believe DHS, or we're going to believe her. So if we choose to believe her, then we should grant the waiver. If we're going to believe DHS, then we have to decide, does it rise to the level of keeping an educator out of the classroom? And I guess that's what I would welcome someone trying to convince me that denying food, clothing, and shelter is not prohibitive of being a good educator. I tend to gravitate towards if you will do that to your own child, I think the parents may have concerns about your custody and care of their children for 6 to 8 hours a day. And I would not want to have to answer to those parents. But again, I'm open to being convinced that that's not prohibitive. But if we can't make that argument, then I would suggest that I would be prepared to make a motion to deny the waiver request subject to removal from the maltreatment registry. And let her do the work necessary to convince DHS that she should not be on the maltreatment registry.
Okay.
I think my other position would be, I know whatever we find in that report is personal. It has nothing to do with your teaching ability, which is where, going back to Mr. Sutton's point, having letters of recommendation that speak to your character, which is an actual element that we need to consider, is not on the table yet. And so bringing those back in a month could be helpful for us.
Correct.
You're not the first teacher we have seen before us asking for a waiver, but a lot of them have brought school recommendation letters from former colleagues, their current administration, speaking to their teaching abilities. And I would say we're pretty generous as a board when it comes to waivers. But right now, there's like at least 2 elements that Ms. Douglas brought up that we can't even consider because we just don't have it, being letters speaking to your character.
And I would say that my situation may very well be unique because I did not work during COVID. I've not been employed. Well, excuse me, I worked during COVID, the year that ended school year 2020. 2021, I did not work, and I at a school, and I began the job at Pulaski County in August of this year. My relationships with previous administrators, I don't necessarily have connections to them. When I did my job, teaching can be a job. Teaching is a profession that a lot of times you are engrossed in doing your work and providing for your students. And when it comes to an administrator, you have assistant principals, administrators, you have other people, but the people that you go to in this, even my most recent jobs, it's so much change up. So the issue is that this is a domestic issue, and I'm still going to court for those things. I'm still tasked with providing for this child and other children, and the way that I have invested, I'm saying again, to provide for my children, that is attempting to be removed because of a domestic issue that has nothing to do with my work history and abilities. And so with me being able to even tabling it for a month is still punitive to me. Me being able to provide and even deal with the domestic issues, it takes finances to be able to do those things. Even legal services that you recommended, they require payment. It's not a free service. So all of these things, these suggestions, well intended, employment is what prepares me to be able to do any of those things, and which is something that I was already aware of, which is why I invested, again, I'm saying, into the APRA program to be a licensed educator.
Any other questions from the board? Okay, I think we are ready for a motion. The motion, Ms. Douglas, you're going to help me out here. The motion could be to grant the waiver, deny the waiver, or probation. Is that correct?
So it's grant the waiver or deny the waiver. And
There's no
then
probation then?
You can do probation. If you grant the waiver, you can do conditions on the waiver.
Okay.
And probation could be a condition.
Okay. All right, so it's grant or deny the waiver, then it would be our motion then. Okay. What is the pleasure of the board?
Well, I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I'll move to deny the waiver request but allow reinstatement of the license upon removal of her name from the child maltreatment registry.
Okay. We have a motion by Mr. Woods to deny the waiver, but allow reinstatement upon removal from the child maltreatment registry. We have a second by Ms. Woods. I probably need to do a roll call here.
Can I put that question?
Mhm.
Does that mean that we won't have more information next month?
Right.
Mr. Sutton?
Yes.
Ms. Hunter?
Yes.
Mr. Wood?
Yes.
Ms. McFetrich?
Yes.
Ms. Woods?
Yes.
Dr. Hill?
No.
Mr. Henderson?
No.
We got 5 yeas, 2 nays.
Motion passes. So, Ms. Aguilera, you'll need to go and try to get yourself off the registry, and then you can get your reinstatement. Ms. Douglas, I have a couple of questions for you before we move off of this. I know we've had this situation before, and we've talked about the lack of information from DHS, and we were going to try to do some things behind the scenes to try to get that where this wouldn't keep occurring. How is that process going?
We do have some contacts with DHS. Typically, we are asking the applicant to provide that information since it's their personal information, it's their situation. There are some laws also about us providing those types of documents that could get us in trouble with audits and with state and federal government. So that's why we're asking the educators to get those documentation because they are entitled to it, and then to provide it to you as the board.
Okay, so that's the process that's going to have to go from here on. Is that something that could be addressed legislatively, or would federal also still get into that?
The federal law would still prohibit the
Okay.
sharing. But it's kind of our position too, that if the applicant is seeking out a waiver, then they would want to provide you guys with that information one way or the other. I mean, the DHS does their investigation. They make a finding by preponderance of the evidence, which is more likely than not standard, and before they actually put anyone on the registry.
So the educator would have to go to DHS, get that report, and then bring it back to us?
Correct.
Okay.
And we are asking them to do that when they request a hearing, to provide you guys with more information.
Okay, so she knew that she needed to bring that report to us?
Yes.
Okay.
Can I want to follow up on that? I know when there are community inquiries based on things from the community, our ethics investigative team go down to the communities and does research and bring back recommendations to this board.
Mm-hmm.
Do we do that on our own, or do we just take DHS's?
The law requires us just to take DHS's report and their findings. So the law specifically states that you shall revoke if they are on the true finding. So a legislative change could prevent that,
That's okay.
but it also gives you guys the opportunity to waive that.
I got you. Okay.
And so that's kind of giving you the caveat of, yes, you shall revoke, but you do have the option to waive the offense and kind of disregard whatever DHS has suggested.
Okay. All right. Before you leave, Ms. Douglas, again, we want to say thank you for all that you've done for us, and I hope you've trained someone well, because you know how many questions we have. So thank you for all that you do.
I don't want to put a wet blanket on what she just said about you personally. I do have a question about the process, though. What kind of work is done with the waiver applicant, the educator that comes prior to showing up? It seems as though, you know, this is my first one.
Sure.
Okay. And so I have no idea what they normally come with. Do they normally come with a portfolio of
Yes.
why they should
Yes.
be granted the waiver?
Yes.
Because I was surprised today by the lack of anything.
I requested character references, things of that nature, and was told that it was a personal matter and she did not feel comfortable requesting character references.
Yeah.
But
We usually have
typically,
sex.
we give them a list of factors that you guys will consider and say these are the things that they're going to consider, so you need to provide documentation on all of these things to give you guys a better idea of what you're waiving.
Have you gotten the handout that their office created? We have gone through this, and so there's a handout that Ms. Saracine, do you have it?
The green one?
The green one, yes.
Yes, I do.
So there's the PLSB stuff, and then there's these. PLSB is well documented, that one is not, but it's a very helpful handout.
It's in your, it's in the documentation for today in that packet, but yeah, we'll get it uploaded into your folder so you always have it.
Anything else on this before we move on? Thank you, Ms. Douglas.
Thank you.
And these are painful, but we appreciate your work.
Thank you.
All
Be
right.
here next month?
I think this is, yeah, she's, so, yes.
We had such a connection.
All right. Okay, so we're going to move on to standards for accreditation waivers. Mr. Sutherland.
So, Matthew Sutherland, Coordinator for Standards and System Support, Charter. Ouachita School District is requesting a standards for accreditation waiver for 1A5. That's class size. For a kindergarten class, it's actually one student over the maximum class size with a half-time paraprofessional in the classroom. And I believe Miss Ellen Coleman is online.
Ms. Coleman? Ms. Coleman, are you on the line?
There she is.
There we are. Welcome.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I'm here.
So this waiver is you have one kindergarten class that has 23 students, is that correct?
That is correct. We did not anticipate this, and so it's just one over. We do have paraprofessionals that are in the classroom half-time, and we don't anticipate to have this again, so.
Do you anticipate putting that para in there full-time?
Yes, in fact, on paper, we have that they're half-time in each classroom, but we're really working so that it may not be the same paraprofessional, but we do have other paraprofessionals that when she can't be in there, they go in to assist as well. So basically, it is an all-day situation.
Okay, all right. We'll see if we have any questions from the board. Anyone on my left have a question? On my right? Okay, not seeing any questions. Are we ready for a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the waiver.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Sutton to approve the waiver. Do we have a second? Seconded by Dr. Hill. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Coleman, for being here.
Thank you very much.
All right. Consideration for requests for 1240 waivers. Ms. Freno.
Thank you, Ms. Newton. Lori Freno. This waiver request will be presented by Carly Saracini.
Okay, all right. Ms. Saracini?
Carly Saracini, Assistant Commissioner, and I have Ms. Come right up here, Ms. Lupa, introduce yourself.
All right. Good morning.
Good morning.
Lupe Peña de Martinez, Director of Student Support Services.
See, I couldn't have said it quite like that. We have, I think that we have the superintendents on. Yes, I see them. They're listed under Lori Freno. So, this is requesting a waiver specifically for library media. And this waiver, we feel pretty good about it. And Melissa Jacks out of my division really worked with Lupe and her team and worked out a really good plan. As we look, we know that it's hard to find teachers certified, especially in specialty areas like library media, and they are actually growing their own. And so I will turn it over to them, and they can answer or talk about this. And they really do have a really good, strong plan.
Okay, all right. Welcome. We're glad that you're with us this morning. Could you tell us a little bit about your plan?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chair, for considering our waiver request. I'm Brenda Napier, Superintendent at Deer Mount Judy School District.
And I'm Melissa King. Sorry, I know we're supposed to be sworn in, I think. But thank you for hearing our waiver, and we appreciate that everyone understands how hard it is to get teachers in some of these specialty areas.
So I'll start, and again, she's the curriculum, she's the specialist, but we met previously in October with licensure Ms. Saracini, Ms. Jacks, Ms. Barnett. You were the department's library media specialist. We feel like what we have is we have a paraprofessional. She had 2 years, now she's on the 3rd year of her college degree. She is in the REACH program now, and she has been serving in this capacity, helping us all along. She is homegrown. She has children in the school system. She actually will have a grandchild in the school system soon. So she's here to stay. So what we have is that we've established weekly, we will meet with our public county librarian, and that is a media library specialist. We will meet face-to-face, not Zooming. We will meet face-to-face with her, with Mrs. King. She's our curriculum and a reading specialist. And Mrs. Barnett will meet monthly with us to just help us. She's offered her assistance to help supervise us and make sure that we're addressing every standard from K-12, because we truly want the best for our kids. And I feel like this is, at the time, this is the very best we can do. We will continue to network, to advertise, to try to find a licensed library media specialist. But we have everyone that we can think of from, and even our co-op specialists, even though there's no library media specialist there, their reading specialist is also willing to meet with us. We're kind of an hour distance between the county library media specialist and our school district, but everyone is very interested in helping us make sure that we're getting our science of reading covered, and then our reading scores will go up. And I think the key person in that is always a library media specialist. We have had some awesome ones in the past. We're just struggling this year to find that person. So I'm sure I've left out things, but we have both the school, the district, we have your department, which is key with Mrs. Barnett. She's awesome to help us. So again, ask us questions, and we would take all the suggestions that we can possibly get to make this work.
Okay, all right, we'll see if we have any questions from the board. Anyone on my left have a question? Mr. Woods?
The length of time surprises me just a little bit, 5 years. Can you describe why such a long period of time?
All right, so as we worked with licensure with Mrs. Saracini and Mrs. Jacks, Miss Young is our paraprofessional. So this is her 3rd year, so she would have to get her bachelor's and then 2 years more for her master's in library and media specialist. So that was just the time frame that we all chose, because realistically we're looking at 4 to finish her bachelor's and then 2 for master's.
And we're looking at, when she finishes her bachelor's, doing an ALP instead of utilizing the waiver, actually, is what we're hoping for.
But we chose that because for library media, it takes a master's degree. And so since she's just on year 3 of her bachelor's, we did not want to cause any undue harm if we said less years and then have to come back. but they have a pretty strong plan. We feel pretty good.
What if she leaves her employment with the school district though, next year?
I'm sorry, did you say if she leaves?
Yeah, what if she were to no longer be part of the team and then, you know, what would be the next thing?
All right, well, we feel very confident that she will not leave. She is rooted in the community. She was an alumni from the school. She has no intentions of leaving here, but the what ifs, then we continue. So let's take the worst case scenario. We are continuing to advertise to try to get that licensed person, whether it's tomorrow or next year. We're doing our very best. The co-op is reaching out, trying to help us. If that were to happen, then I think our next step would be to ask one more time if we had an in-house licensed teacher that would be interested in that position. And then again, for most part, then they would have to do the 2-year master's program to get the library media specialist. But that would be our next plan, Mr. Wooden. Thank you for those questions.
Anyone on my right have a question? Okay. We are ready for a motion.
I was also a little concerned about the time frame, but reading through your plan, I think it's a good plan, and I appreciate you working with your library, your county library, and the co-op. So great to see those partnerships that you've built. So I'll go ahead and make the motion that we approve the waiver for Deer and Mount Judah school districts.
Okay. We have a motion to grant the waiver. Seconded by Mr. Henderson. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. We have now the co-op evaluations from Ms. Smith.
Good morning,
Good
Stacy
morning.
Smith, the department. This has really been a treat to be able to be a part of these evaluations. Each month I've got 2 scheduled. And so in end of September, I visited Northwest Arkansas Co-op and Guy Finter Co-op and conducted their evaluations. They are on the Zoom today. You've got Director Roy Hester, Director from Guy Finter, and Angela Miller, who is his TCC. And then you've got Brian Law from Northwest Cooperative and Dr. Missy Hickson, who is their TCC. And just a few of the things, I know you have the reports and that you've read them, so I'm not going to go over the whole piece of it. But I will say, in Northwest Arkansas, one of the things that really stood out was the differentiation of support between the different districts pertaining to size. Their rural districts in their areas really talked about, I mean, they were adamant about how much support was provided and the difference it made. Larger districts also use them differently, but also it was a vital role, especially for areas that were, not the literacy and the math, but those, counselors and career and technical pieces. While they're at Northwest Arkansas, they highlighted their retention recruitment efforts, and that probably is the most enlightening thing for me is when I'm out at these co-ops and the work that we're doing here at the department, these people are the ones who are carrying the load. Okay, so the retention efforts that Carly Saraceni stands up and talks to you guys about, these are the folks that are actually carrying this. That's that connection between the department and the actual school district. And the retention recruitment efforts and the number of teachers that they have supported and mentored was huge. For Guy Finter Co-op, completely different cooperative, serving completely different schools. And one of the things that stood out there too, they have more rural school districts, obviously, and over and over. And we're bringing in, over 50 individuals to do interviews with, and that includes teachers, that includes superintendents, principals, administrators. We've heard from parents highlighting the support and what's going on with those co-ops. On on both of these, we had business folks and we had parents as a part of our committee. And what was interesting on both of these co-ops at the end, the committee members who went in to do the evaluation were blown away. And we're like, how can we share with more people what these folks are doing here? and it's really about telling the story. So I'm going to pause for a second. Mr. Hester or Brian, do either one of you want to make a comment about your prospective co-op?
Well, I would be glad to, and we are grateful for the opportunity. We would be welcoming to any time anyone wanted to come in and see what our great team's doing here. Where you spoke about our recruitment and retention team, and since you were here about a month ago, they have moved forward with plans for a regional conference for Get Your Teach On to bring them into Northwest Arkansas. We're very excited about that. There's a tremendous amount of work that is taking place with that group. That is a large number for us, and we're very proud of them, and I'm grateful that you highlighted them, but we are equally proud of all of our programs and the work they do with a large number. 100,000 plus of the students in the state of Arkansas are in this co-op, and we're grateful for the work that takes place here, and we would welcome you at any time to come up and visit us and spend time with us and see what our team is doing.
Thank you, Mr. Law. Mr. Hester or Angela for Guy Fincher, would either one of you like to make a comment?
Yes, I'm in for Mr. Hester. He's actually on his way. His grandbaby's going to be here this afternoon, so we'll let him go for that. We just wanted to say thank you so much to the department and to Stacy and the team that came in. It was a lot of fun to be able to highlight things that we do at our co-op and get feedback, reflect on it so that we can move forward to continue to serve our schools. But we really enjoyed the day and spending time with those and explaining what we do.
Yeah, at Guy Fincher Co-op, they highlighted retention recruitment as well, and they actually brought in some of their novice teachers. In fact, Northwest Arkansas did the same thing. We got to hear from first-year teachers, second-year teachers, and how the cooperative is supporting them in their roles. It's a big deal. So enjoy both of those. So just asking the board, if you guys have any questions for them, they're on here. If not, to accept the reports.
Okay. Let's see if we have any questions. Anyone on my right have a question? Over here on my left. Ms.
I'd like to
McFetridge?
say, I really appreciate the reports. Sometimes it's hard for us to know how much work you all do in the co-ops, but I also wanted to say thank you so much for all the work that you did with the schools during COVID and helping with those virtual plans. Oh my goodness.
Absolutely.
Just reading through those plans to see how much help and support you gave those districts. I can't thank you enough. So
Yes, very well said. Yes, we appreciate the co-ops and all that they do, and in Northwest and Guy Fincher, y'all are doing great work, and I know your districts and your teachers appreciate you. So thank you for what you're doing.
I do want the board to know this is a really thorough evaluation. It is not a day to go in and do a dog and pony show. There is a rubric set, there is a narrative provided. The co-ops are responsible providing evidence for us. So when my team gets there, we start at 8 o'clock, and we literally go through the narrative. We go through all of their links looking for evidence to support what they tell us. So just because they tell us this is what they're doing, we then have to back it up with evidence to show that. And then we conduct interviews, and we conduct at least 7 group interviews every time. And during those interviews, we are then looking for evidence from the stakeholders to back up what we saw in writing and what we saw from basically their narrative report. So they are thorough. We look at everything, and so it's been a blessing and a treasure to get out there and do this work. So thank you guys.
Right. Before you leave, Ms. Smith, just one question. I know each co-op is a little different as far as what they do. Do they do sharing between co-ops as far as, we tried this year and this really worked for our teachers and our districts? Do they ever do anything like that?
So they actually come together every month, and they actually have their own weekly calls and Zoom meetings, but they have in-person meetings with the directors and TCCs monthly, where they come together and share information. One of the things that I have told them through this evaluation process is, it's just like teaching. You think you know what the person right next to you is doing because you're collaborating and talking, but when you've gone in their classroom and you see it, you're like, oh, that's what you meant by that. And so I'm hoping in this role to be able to, when I see something really stand out different at a co-op, to make sure the other directors know to go and visit and see. And I think that, in fact, I had one of the directors from one of the co-ops actually serve as a committee member evaluating another one, and he walked away going, oh, I'm going to do these things. And So it's been beneficial, but they do meet monthly, and I see Mr. Hester on here. I thought you were going to the hospital, Mr. Hester.
Well, you know how babies are. They come when they get good and ready. So, they're still in a holding pattern.
Well,
So they do collaborate.
yeah, okay, we appreciate that. So thank you. And so we need a motion to accept the reports. Okay, I have a motion for Ms. Hunter and a second for Ms. McFetters. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. All right. We are going to look at district conversion public charter school applications. Ms. Summons.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The Rivercrest Junior High Academy submitted an application for district conversion charter school. The charter authorizing panel voted unanimously to approve the application for the district conversion charter to open in the fall of 2023 for grades 7 and 8 for 5 years. I have Assistant Superintendent Chantel Rayford. She is on the Zoom in case you have any questions.
Okay. All right. Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning. We'll see if we have any questions, Ms. Rayford. Any questions over here on my left? On my right? Okay, so now for a motion for this charter would be to review or not review the application, or the application.
I'd like to make a motion not to review.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Henderson not to review. Seconded by Ms. Woods. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Raper, for being here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Summons, do you also, I think, have the next one?
Yes. Ideas Public Schools of Arkansas submitted a letter of voluntary surrender for their charter school.
And if I'm not mistaken, this one had not opened yet and was scheduled to open next year, and then pushed it back to the next year, and now have decided not to open.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so would this be a review or not review, or
Yes,
to
ma'am.
still review or not review? Okay. All right. Any questions on this one?
Did the charter authorizing panel review this
Yes.
as well? And
it
they
was
unanimous?
Any other questions? Okay. Were you ready for a motion?
I'll make a motion not to review.
Have a motion by Ms. McFetters not to review.
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Sutton. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Okay, we have, that's the end of our action agenda. We do have some public comment signed up. They're all about Pine Bluff, and we're going to discuss Pine Bluff during reports, or should we go ahead and just a report? Okay, so let's go ahead and do public comment now. Okay, our first public comment, Rosalind. Okay. Good morning.
Rosalind Mauser.
Rosalind, I'm
Unified
sorry.
Stakeholders from the Pine Bluff School District. Number one, thank you for making progress. I understand Chairman Key will make a report later, so I won't say anything about that, but Ms. Stacy did share a copy of that with me. Two of our ladies who normally are here could not make it, so I sent them copies of those. We're all very, very pleased. I think the message we'd like to say not only is thank you, but also we, and you know, we don't speak for everybody in Pine Bluff, right? Just our unified stakeholders. We are very glad that the board is going to insist upon training. I think I wasn't involved when the school district went under fiscal distress and then educational distress, academic distress rather. But I think that lack of training was probably at the heart of that. And so if we have adequately trained persons that are appointed to the Limited Authority Board, I think we'll go a lot longer down the highway. We've got a long highway to go down. So thank you very, very much for letting us continue to speak before you.
Thank you for being here. All right. Ms. Wright? Good morning.
And I also would like to thank you for moving forward with the limited board. But I also have some other concerns. I guess you say I always have concerns, but somebody have to be a watchman. After the past month of promises given and broken, I feel a need again to come to you with public comment. As I stood here last month, Superintendent Warren stated that she would give a press release in support of the millage that never occurred. On October the 24th, district stakeholders concerned about the fiscal stability and the academic and the fiscal distress exit criteria of our district created a brochure to rally support of the millage with a vote for, and went on the air to encourage voters to vote for the millage, which resulted in the district receiving an additional $1,073,267 toward our net legal balance required for fiscal distress exit criteria. On October the 27th, Mayor Shirley Washington went on air to encourage Pine Bluff and Dollarway citizens to vote for the millage. After the stakeholders went on the air, Superintendent Warren and district officials gave information on the millage vote that communicated a vote of against the millage will remain as if they were and will remain on the ballot until the vote passes and the millage is unified. This statement made us feel that Superintendent Warren or the district officials is not advocating for the Pine Bluff School District to meet exit criteria, which requires the district, according to the Fiscal Distress Improvement Plan, Objective 2, that we must maintain a closing net legal balance equal to or greater than $4 million. Additionally, the district will maintain and close with a building fund balance equal to or greater than anticipated future projects. Superintendent Warren or district officials failed to communicate that a vote for the millage, former Pine Bluff School District rates will remain the same, and former Dollarway school districts will see only an increase of 9/10 meal, which could amount to less than $20 per year, but would have resulted in $1,073,267 for the fiscal year 21-22. Therefore, Mrs. Warren's or district's information vote against will again cost the district an additional $1,073,267, a total of $2,146,535.06. On November the 9th, the Pine Bluff Commercial Reporter stated the Pine Bluff School District had not done extensive campaigning for the increases. The officials focused on having a limited authority board instituted by January. We feel that the district misleading comment that voters vote against the millage, the rates will remain as they were, and the items will remain on the ballot. They did not say a vote for Pine Bluff School District millage will remain the same, and Dollarway will only see a 9/10 millage increase. We are pleased that 8,965 stakeholders participated in the millage election in 2022, when only 150 voted in 2021 due to the lack of communication of district officials of the millage election. Despite the lack of communication of the advantages of the millage for our district, we will continue to rally support for the fiscal integrity and academic excellence of our district. And I appreciate you allowing me to have public comment, but we must come to you and let you know that everything is not fixed and that there's things to be broken. And this, I'm gonna give Mrs. Newton.
Okay.
These are copies of the brochures that the stakeholders created. We went on air again, the mayor as well as we went on air, and it was very disheartening to see the district say a vote against the millage when we're in fiscal distress, and by it we could have obtained $2 million.
Thank you, Ms. Wright. Mr. Wright?
Good morning, Arkansas State Board members.
Good morning.
Commissioner Key and all the other present. I'm Julius Wright, a concerned Pine Bluff School District stakeholder for the consolidation of the Dollarway and Pine Bluff School District. There are several other concerns that we have that occurred in the last month. The district information on upcoming millage vote stated that the construction of a new high school was misleading. Pine Bluff School District patrons was not informed that the construction of a new high school would take place according to the district fiscal distress improvement plan 2022 to 2023. It states that the district will have to maintain a close with a building fund balance equal to or greater than the cost of anticipated future project, which means that $11,182,740.95 for the Pine Bluff High School Partnership Project. 47% would have to be in the fund balance prior to construction. The district failure to communicate that a vote against is costing the district $2,146,535.06 towards the construction of a new high school. We are concerned that as Pine Bluff School District patrons, we attend a required report to the public on Thursday, October 27, 2022, in the Pine Bluff High School, McFadden Gym, and Superintendent Warren denied the stakeholders input. It was apparent feedback was not welcome and that every building administrator presented their data and campus events, which is normally done on individual campuses during Parents-Teacher Organization, Parents-Teacher Conference Day, or Math for Literacy Night. We concerned stakeholders exited the McFadden Gym in the dark. Not a single light was on the campus, nor the parking lot. We had to assist one another to prevent falling. There was no security officer present outside the gym or parking lot. We would like to communicate another broken promise. On October 20, 2022, a promise of the Pine Bluff School District launches year strategic plan, invites staff, students, and community members to come together on November the 1st, 2022 at the Pine Bluff Convention Center to learn about, give input on, and kick off the district's 5-year strategic plan through the Deltaplex News, local news. It never occurred, nor no formal cancellation given to the Deltaplex News that was informed of its occurrence in the Pine Bluff commercial calendar, nor the district website. Several stakeholders showed up for the event that never occurred. Instead, a video was aired that again did not allow stakeholders input. Thank you for allowing me to have comments.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. Thank you. We are to the end of our action agenda. Is there any new business? Okay. I don't know, everybody's left, but I don't know if our lunch is here or if you want to try to go on through reports. What does the board want to do? You need a break. Okay. Look.
Even if it's just a little break, not full lunch.
Okay. What? You want to take a break and then come back, or you want to break for lunch?
Okay.
Go ahead, Mr. Sutton.
Not relative to that.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. Lunch is here. Okay.
I've been looking for an opportunity to just comment on the meeting that was held yesterday in Plummerville.
We can do that after lunch or when during the reports. Is that okay?
Well, I was going to say.
Okay.
Well, I was there on the Zoom, and you guys were there. the whole content of that meeting and the way it was presented just made me feel so proud of the work that this department does. Desi put on a great presentation, dove into the data, got told everybody what's behind the data. Stacy, you and Ivy and Deb and others just did a great job, and I just want to say that publicly.
Do you want a break for lunch, or we just take a break? I printed this before yesterday. I didn't. Okay. I printed my agenda before. I guess it got added. Okay. So let's take about a 10-minute break. I think our board members need a little bit of a break, and so we're going to take a 10-minute break, and then we'll be back at 11:45. Okay? All right. Yeah, we're not in a hurry. We'll just get them rounded back up. We're gonna wait on Fitz, though, aren't we? Yeah. We're gonna wait on Fitz. We lost 2 board members. All right, Dan is ready, and we are ready to go to our report section of the agenda. The first thing is board reports. Anyone have something you would like to share board-wise?
Just very briefly.
Okay, Ms. McFetridge.
I was able to attend the NSBA conference in Phoenix a couple weeks ago, and was excited to be there to support Sarah. And she is the incoming chair of that.
Of NASB, yes.
Of NASB, and she did a great job. She was on a panel as well and talked about our high schools and our science projects. So yeah, she did really well. The conference was very interesting, and I really got a lot from it, and I've made some notes. I won't go through all of them, but Johnny, I'll share them with you because there were some very interesting things. They did give reports on the national test scores with just a handful of states that did above the norm, and a few states that were below the norm, but Arkansas fit right in the national average of learning loss. So I think all in all, we could actually feel fairly good about that. And yesterday's meeting certainly brought that out as well. But one of the things that really kind of stuck with me was just the teachers and the high level of stress that they're still at right now, and really being there to listen to them, support them, double check on their working conditions, how much stress that they're under, and just make sure that they're valued. And sometimes somebody said it takes a whole orchestra sometime to make that happen, and I thought that was kind of a nice comment. It takes a whole orchestra to really let the teachers know how we feel about them. So I thought that was really, really good. And then just to rebuild trust in our systems, that this whole political climate right now is really eroding trust in our schools. And I'm not really sure what we can do about that, but just like yesterday, have those conversations, like you said, and really talk about, share about the good things that are happening. I mean, it was incredible to see all the different leaders that you had assembled for that yesterday, and I thought it was really a great experience. So, yeah, thank you. Thank you.
All right. I just want to take a second and share it, and once again thank Arch Ford and all the people in the department that put on the event yesterday and the public information that was shared, and I think it went great, and just I think everybody came away with a good feeling about the progress that we've made. We know that we've got ways to go, but progress is something that you celebrate. And one comment that I wanted to make is one of the things that we've talked about with the PLC process from the state level is making sure that as a board that we're looking at data, and that fell right into that process, making sure that we are looking at data as far as, we heard it yesterday, making sure that policies don't prevent what needs to happen at the student level. And so I appreciated that so much, and it fell right in line with what we're trying to do as a board with the PLC process. Wanted to give just a little bit of update on the Pine Bluff committee to select the advisory board. We're going to start meeting Monday to start the interview process. We've got the applications and the resumes, and the committee is ready to go to work next week. And I want to say thank you to the people of the department that have helped organize that and help get us on the right track. But we should have information to give to the commissioner soon after next week, and then a decision to bring to the board in December on the new board members. So just say that is progressing along our timeline, and I feel good about our process. Okay.
Ms. Newton, if I may add just to those comments, we had 30 applicants for the board. So that was a fantastic pool to choose from and to select from. And the subcommittee, just to make sure it's on record, of course, Ms. Newton is the chair, Mr. John Hoy, who's with our team, OCSS, is on the committee, Dan Jordan from the Arkansas School Boards Association, Reverend Jesse Turner, member of the Pine Bluff community, and Maddie Collins, member of the Pine Bluff community, make up the 5 on the committee.
And we are going to meet Monday morning and start work. So we are ready to go with that. All right, Ms. Psalm, ATOY report.
Share screen.
All right, so I'm going to share my report from the month, and it was a really good month, so I have a lot of exciting things to share. So thank you for your time listening. I still have my graphic up there with the QR code where teachers and schools can request for me to come, and I'm really excited. I have a lot of good visits coming up, and even speaking with the principal from Sylvan Hills yesterday, she said, one of my teachers tagged me in one of your posts and said, we have to bring you. And I told her, I live really close to you, please call me to come. And so knowing that word's getting out and more schools are learning that they can request a visit in whatever capacity is really exciting. So I had a few opportunities this month to speak with future teachers. One was at Harding, and then I was at the SHAPE conference at Arkansas Tech, and my Children's Hockey Association actually asked me to come and speak to some of those physical education teachers, future teachers, and talk about how we can incorporate hockey into STEM activities as well as athletic activities. And I just spoke about how important that collaboration piece is, that we can engage students who are more STEM learners into athletics, get them moving more, and our athletic students get them more incorporated with STEM activities. So it was really neat, and I think talking to future educators and novice teachers is such an important piece of this. They need that encouragement, and we need to, again, recruit, retain, and then keep our young teachers. And so that's just really important work to me.
There's a hockey club in Cabot, Arkansas.
And Little Rock. Yeah, I'm married an Alaskan, so you know. Yes, and they both play ice hockey, but he even shared how you could make it into street hockey. And so, and actually one of the people there were like, why aren't you in your roller skates? I was like, oh, well, I'm here for hockey. But Edie and I both also got to share at the Northwest Arkansas at the co-op for their future teacher fair. I was virtual and she was able to be in person. And there was more than 150? It was a lot of future possible teachers in that room. And so it's really, it's just such a good opportunity to share about the Teach Arkansas, the things, the alternative license ways to come in, and making that teacher pipeline stronger. And I just shared about my experiences in ATOY and my journey to get here, and then some of the work I've been able to do. So that was it's always fun to have that fresh energy in a room and encourage them and excite them about this profession, because we need them. These are the students that we need to keep interested, and our young teachers keep involved. Ms. McFetridge and I had 2 days together earlier this year where we were both at the Lisa Academy opening in Rogers, and then she helped connect me with Harbor High School with their aviation program. And so we went over there. I got to try out the aviation simulators they have, meet with their teacher, and I loved this because he shared some of the difficulties he had connecting with resources in Arkansas and how he wanted to connect with the air base. So on the drive home, my husband's a pilot at the air base, I called him and I said, hey, we've got some work to do. And he shared that one of the wing commanders there has really wanted to get into the schools more. And so the timing was perfect of how we can connect. And so I reached back out, I said, I need some information. I mean, within 30 minutes, Jason got it to me of here's the flyer, here's the information. And so I just love the connections. We talk about career, community. This is where it's at. This is where we can let children see a future for themselves. And it wasn't just in aviation, flying, maintenance, other career paths. And we have the air base here with all of that. So I am really, really excited about those connections and how to continue partnering with other community assets. He struggled in Arkansas to get some of those partnerships. And so I'm excited about the doors that could open for that. And then, little people are where I'm usually at. And so I actually got to go back to the elementary school where I did a pre-K internship, I think in 2009. And that's the classroom next to where I did my internship. And we had so much fun. They had a fog bubble machine. And so you popped the bubbles and it was a fog that came out of them. So we were having a great time with that. And then those other two pictures are up in Pea Ridge, Arkansas. And so it was great. They were like, can you just go to recess with our kids? And so I went and got flats out of the car and played outside for a while. And I just love, they were telling me, you can't catch us. You're too slow because you're old. And I was just like, oh, thanks. I said, how do you know I'm old? They're like, you're really gray hair and you're tall. I was like, okay, I'll take both of those. But I love hearing, what kids are seeing and their experiences, and then just learning with them and seeing what their teachers are doing. It's so much fun. And it is, again, it's such a privilege as part of this position to get in schools and be with teachers and be with students and really experience life outside of my own district and my own classroom. Those are some teachers for Pea Ridge on the left, and then I went to Cabot, had their first elementary chess tournament, and I'm the only person in my family that does not play chess, but I got to go and see these children and see their experiences, and I knew a few of the students that were there from different schools. And there was one student in particular, and he has struggled to kind of find his place in schools, and there's some behaviors, but this was something that he just connected with. And to hear them say, we have expectations, you act like gentlemen and act like ladies, and we shake hands, and you're not losing, you're learning. I love all those things because those are skills every child needs to learn. So this was just a really fun event, and some of those players that had just begun went on to the regional tournament, the chess tournament as well. And then, of course, October is a great month for all sorts of learning. So a pumpkin throwing up, I don't know, experiment happening with some dish soap and different things. So a good science experiment. And then on the right, I went to another school where they were preparing for their Pinewood Derby tournament. And so they were learning of how the cars would work, and they created a wind tunnel, and so they could see, they put some of the fog into the wind tunnel to see how it would go over the car. So it was a long process of learning for them, which was really, really exciting. And then more hands-on learning. This we had at.
Not me.
Yeah, no, it's not. It was very tense the whole time. But that is my daughter, and she's part of the K Kids, the Kiwanis Kids Club, and they were creating food for the local animal shelter, the snacks and different things to take. And someone from the animal shelter also had that snake with them. So we held that snake, which is outside of my comfort level, but we did it, and it was a lot of fun. But again, these are the experiences that are meaningful for children, and they're connecting. We talked yesterday about that community engagement and the service and connecting students with their community, knowing a resource in town with the animal shelter, and then acting on that service is really, it's just really meaningful for her and all of those students. And then this was the Pinewood Derby. This was another really cool experience. The teacher in the back is Alan West. He was the Cabot Teacher of the Year from last year and one of our regional finalists. And he invited both of my children and me to create a car for this. I will say that my car is the only one that did not make it all the way down the ramp. And so let me see, this little boy on the left, he and I raced against each other, and over he kept saying, "I beat the Teacher of the Year." He was so proud of himself. And at the end, we raced again, and I lost again. And he said, "If we did it a third time, I bet you'd lose again." And I'm like, "You're probably right." But just, it was neat. It was a really great competition and pulling in a bunch of different students. Some of them were in the GT class, others were there because they had earned that opportunity to participate, and so reinforcing some real positive behaviors. That we had so much fun, and I love that my children, they miss a lot of me. I am gone a lot more than I was, and so that they're able to participate in some of these experiences and learn at other schools as well. And then yesterday morning, before we had our meeting in the afternoon, Cabot had their special programs bowling. And so I was able to see some of my former students and be there with all of the elementary students. And it was just a great time. I think that oftentimes students who are receiving special education services, it is very hard for their families to get out in the community and have some experiences at restaurants, movie theaters, bowling. It's loud. Students that are diverse learners, that noise can be really difficult. And so while this is fun and it's a fun day for the students, it's also an experience to help prepare them for community. It gets them out there, it makes them more comfortable, and it's something as educators that are more equipped to deal with that, sometimes we can support the families, and that family-teacher partnership is just so important. And then we did our Military Family Month recognition this morning, and so I shared a couple pictures of my family that were taken recently at the Air Base. And then my daughter, I got to take her to her first Razorback football game last weekend, and so that's there. She and I had that day together. But that is something that I'm just super passionate about. My anniversary is tomorrow, and I would say I've spent probably 5 of the 16 years separated from my husband at least, and that doesn't include just the overnights here and there. My children have spent just recently 14 months and 7 months a year or so before that away from him, and it is a unique challenge our military families face. And they're a subpopulation you don't hear a lot about, we don't really dive into because they are resilient and they are tough, but recognitions like that are really important because it's still difficult. So I appreciate that this morning, the recognition of Military Family Month. Then I got to go to New Jersey at the end of October for the CCSSO Impact and Influence Conference. I had an opportunity to share and present some of the work we're doing with inclusive practices here in the state and my passion for that. On the right is Juliana Urtubey, who is the last year's National Teacher of the Year and a special education teacher. So I had SPED royalty in that room that I was presenting to. And then on the left is Kurt Russell. He's the current National Teacher of the Year. So there was 3 National Teachers of the Year in this room when I was presenting. So a little bit nervous about that, but it was wonderful. And to have the feedback to share about what we were doing and my passion and what I'm doing was really, really special. And to be able to see these other state teachers of the year as the experts in the field that they are, it was a really elevating process. We were there the night before Halloween, so of course being teachers we had to dress up a little bit, and that was my small group on the right that I've been working with throughout the year. And then I had to celebrate Courtney Cochran, another one of our A-Toys. This is a principals panel, and every other person on that panel is a National Teacher of the Year, but she was also asked to present. And so we were both there. I got to hear her journey of following her Teacher of the Year sabbatical and going into administration, and it was really great to have another A-Toy in the room and to see her elevated and treated as the expert that she is in our profession. And then I wanted to share these two pictures too. The one on the left is from yesterday, and the one on the right is that my cohort of State Teachers of the Year that we were all together, and how important it is to continue to elevate our educator voice. And that goes from, our paraprofessionals. I think someone yesterday even mentioned involving our custodians, our food service workers. They are a part of this education team. That might be who that student connects with. And so we cannot diminish anyone that is in that building serving and working with students, because that just may be the one person that student knows they can go to for safety, security, and help. And so I really liked hearing that yesterday. And along with that, I had an op-ed published at the end of October. It was World Teacher Day was in October, and the title, they focused on the joy piece of it, which is important. But something that I thought that I just really wanted to share, I copied and pasted on the right, is we talked earlier, teachers are struggling, and it's hard, and there is a lot of negative stories sometimes in the news, not just with our classroom teachers, our administrators, our school boards, and that can be very heavy. We're not trained on how to deal with some of that, and we're there to love kids and teach kids and make them successful. But I just thought about that last paragraph, that teachers choose their own children's needs over their own, or their students' needs over their own. There's days, I've said before, my students got better of me than my own children, and that's just a fact. We prepare and practice protecting other people's children with our own bodies from severe weather or an intruder. We're educated, informed, and committed to high standards of excellence in student achievement. We lose sleep wondering if your child is safe, fed, and happy. We love your children. And so I think that message is so important to remind parents and the community that teachers need your support. Everyone in education needs to understand that we put our hearts, we put everything into what we do because we believe in the importance of it. And then, of course, we got to name our 2023 Arkansas Teacher of the Year, Caprice Salam, and that was just a wonderful ceremony. So I'm very excited for you guys to meet her and learn more about her, and just for her steps into this position, not until July. And remember, I get 2 months with my name on those minutes, and Susanna's just on there. But she's going to be wonderful, and I know the work she's going to do is going to be extremely impactful. And so again, there's my contact information as always, and you get the first picture of what's going to be on my Christmas card this year. But again, I just thought it was so important to recognize with Veterans Day tomorrow and Military Family Month, that we recognize the sacrifices of all of our men and women that are serving all over the world.
Yes.
So I appreciate it.
Good job. And again, I don't know how you keep up with all that you're doing, but we appreciate you. And we have our own Miss Arkansas sitting in our group. So thank you. Commissioner Key?
All right, to kick off my report for this month, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Kaufman.
Thank you. Some number of years ago, the State Board of Education challenged the department to think about how we step up our game on providing engagement for parent, family, community. And we had meetings with state board members. Dr. Hill was one of those that we met regularly, some of the other former members of our board. And from that work, we accepted that challenge, and we put together an engagement unit, which is led by Miss Chelsea Moore. And she began that work of bringing partners in, and when we hired Miss Jessica Hickman to run our McKinney-Vento homeless work, they immediately started pulling together partnerships to make sure that we're serving kids, families, the way that we should. I know that Dr. Hill has mentioned to us many times about Every Arkansan and CityServe, and so today we come to you with a report about where we are with our partnerships, our collaboration, and how we're serving students experiencing homelessness. So Dr. Hill, this report's for you.
Thank you for having us today. Thank you, Secretary Key. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, board members. Thank you, Ms. Kaufman. I'm going to get emotional. I didn't expect that. This is my heart's work. Families in our communities exist in hopes that their kids can go to our schools, they can have a great outcome, they can go and contribute back to their communities. They expect our educators to love them. One of the coolest things about this line of work is that this board has such a commitment and a passion for families and communities. We wouldn't be doing this great work if we didn't have this unique board and this unique leadership. In our state, we're committed to ensuring that all families have an opportunity to be included in their students' education. And we know that there are many groups of families that don't feel that they have that opportunity. And one of those groups that we've focused on through our partnerships has been students experiencing homelessness. That's not to say that this work and this project and this team doesn't touch on all kinds of other families and communities. So with that being said, this incredible team is going to come up here and share with you some of the work that they've been doing over the last year, but I'll introduce to you Ms. Jessica Hickman, our state coordinator of homeless education. Sorry.
Thank you, Chelsea. Good morning. Like she said, I'm Jessica Hickman, and I've been in this position for about 1.5 years now. And coming straight from the classroom myself, students are my passion. What we want to present to you today, like she said, is just a partnership that we've been working on to help all students overall, but focusing on students that are experiencing homelessness right now and making sure that they have the resources that are not only they're entitled to, but anything that we can do above and beyond what the law states. So the first thing that I want to go into is the actual definition of homelessness. A lot of people don't understand the federal definition. We kind of have ideas in our mind of what homelessness is. So federally, it's children who are experiencing homelessness who lack a fixed, regular, and adequate nighttime residence. That's not just physical things you might think of, like no running water, or actually living, unhoused outside or in a shelter, but it includes psychological, and it includes the students that are living doubled up. In Arkansas, culturally, we take care of our own. It's a thing that we do. And so people don't think about the fact that they're staying at grandmother's or, a friend has taken them in. They fit the definition of homelessness, and there are resources available through McKinney-Vento and through your communities to help those families. The McKinney-Vento law does a few things to try to make sure that students are academically successful, they're engaged in school, and that they have an equitable access. So that means that anything that other students are able to do to participate fully in school, this law supports those students by providing school supplies or school clothes or anything they need to be involved in, extracurricular activities, anything to make their school experience equitable, to try to keep them in school, because when they are dealing with these transitional housing situations outside of school, academics may not always be what they think is, their priority, especially when it comes to our more unaccompanied youth, those high school students that are couch surfing. They are trying to survive day to day. They're not necessarily worried about whether they finish school or not. So anything to keep them in school, and then to help them be academically successful, whether it's tutoring or specialized instructional supports. Any student that has, a personalized instructional plan, anything that they need to be successful in school. As a state, this is just a few years of the data that we look at. We expect to identify a certain number of students based on the poverty levels. They look at the students on free and reduced lunch, and about 5% of that number is where an expectation of identification is. And in the past years, we have not met that. And that's not to say that it's not a number to meet. It is to make sure we're not missing any students. So we want to make sure that we are serving every student that meets this definition, because a lot of those students don't want to be found, and the families don't want to be found. They think that it is going to be something negative, that they're going to be reported, that this chain of things is going to happen if they're identified as experiencing homelessness. And so our goal is to change that narrative and to make sure that we find all the students. This year, our October 1 count showed that we've identified more students than we have at the beginning of the school year ever. So that was something that I was personally excited about, is that the liaisons in the school district are listening and learning, and they're taking these practices to find these families and bring these supports. So we have come together as an organization my office, and then Bright Futures and Every Arkansan to try to come in communities and provide this three-legged stool of support. They have the school district support, they have the liaison, but to also have a community aspect to it, because it's not just a school problem, it's a community problem. And so I'm going to let them tell you a little bit more about themselves, and we'll start with Bright Futures. Dr. C.J. Huff is the founder of this organization, and he's been doing some amazing work. So,
I greatly appreciate this opportunity to visit with you all. Again, my name is C.J. Huff. I am the founder of Bright Futures USA, and we've been working in Arkansas for almost 10 years. The first community that we began working with in Arkansas was actually Pea Ridge, Arkansas, up in Northwest. And I started working with Rick Neal in 2013. I think he was a brand new superintendent at that time, and really proud of how it's just kind of grown on its own in Arkansas, and is finding its way down in this part of the state as well. We currently work with about 24 communities in the state, and have a number of communities that are getting ready to come on board with this work. Who we are as an organization, you can see our mission statement, inspiring community partnerships that open a way for all children to lead, learn to lead, and to serve to their full potential. And really, just to kind of break it down in a nutshell, we talk about our work as engaging the time, talent, and treasure of our faith community, our human service agencies, our business community, in partnership with our families and our schools, and the schools kind of serving as a linchpin, because we do so much work with so many of these families that need these services, and trying to provide stability for those children so that they can focus on the important business of education, their academic and life outcomes. And so I'm really excited about the work that's been going on here. Our pillars, you can see the framework in front of you, but the three pillars that really kind of describe our work is creating communication and resource structures locally to meet any child's basic needs within 24 hours, building local leadership capacity and resource capacity, which is critically important. That leadership piece is huge, as you know, and so we spend a lot of time on the front end of this. Nothing works if you don't have good quality leadership in place. We really work hard with local communities to identify local leaders, people that represent diverse circles of influence within their community, not the same 6 people that serve on every committee necessarily. It's you're really trying to go more broadly out in the community and cast that net out a little bit wider, and bring more people to the table to work with our children and youth and open doors for our schools to get the supports that they need. One of the things that's, and the third piece, which I'm going to segue into in just a minute, but I want to, before I go there, one of the things that's really excited me about this particular project is that we started with the mindset, and I credit the department for this way of thinking, and I'm kind of embarrassed that I didn't think about this myself first, having been doing this for so long, but thinking through this work from the mindset, through the lens that if we can create systems of support for our homeless children and youth, we can create a system of support locally for any child, with any need, because those are our kids that are most challenging to work with. I was in public education for 20 years, and I lost a lot of sleep over kiddos. I was a superintendent, I was a principal, I was an elementary teacher, and we put this framework together to start addressing those issues so we can support educators in the classroom so that they don't have to lose sleep over the kids, and create these wraparound supports where the whole community comes together to stabilize that child's life, get them what they need, so they know they're loved and supported as they move towards their academic and life outcomes that we want them to all to achieve. The third element of our framework, the third pillar, is this concept of service learning, and we think it's really important. I think Jessica, you mentioned a bit ago about how important that is for our children to engage in service to others, and it's so empowering, and we can all attest to the fact that we've all been engaged in service projects over the course of our lives. I know my mom and dad raised me with that mindset, and as a kid I remember how it felt to give back to others. It's a really great feeling to be able to do that. Even if we didn't have a lot ourselves as a family, we were able to go out in the community and help others. And we want to give that feeling to kids everywhere and give them that opportunity, because we know that we need more servant leaders in this world, and we want to raise a generation of servant leaders. And so with that, I'm going to finish up here, but I want to share with you a quick video from Benton, Arkansas. The EAST Project, Middle School EAST program in Benton, Arkansas, put together a video that the kids built it, and it was really to help launch this effort in Benton, Arkansas this past year, and really excited to share this with you. It's just a wonderful testament to the work that kids can do and their passion for serving others.
We want to tell you about something that you probably don't know. But you should. You might not believe it.
It's going to make you sad, angry, concerned. And hopefully you're going to want to help us do something about it.
There are kids in our schools that are homeless.
Don't have food, clothing,
School supplies.
a bed, shoes, and more. This is happening here in Benton
Every day.
It's a bad situation.
But we have good news. We're the Benton Middle School East program, and we're hoping to introduce Bright Futures to our community. Bright Futures connects counselors and teachers at Benton schools that sees all students' needs.
With faith-based and other giving organizations, local businesses, and people like you that want to help. Bright Futures not only networks the giving, it also provides mentorship opportunities and assists with youth sports, art, outdoor activities, and more.
Together, we can make a difference in Benton.
By providing connections for success. Click on the link to see how you can get involved.
And Benton's doing some amazing work down there supporting children, youth, and families in their communities, and really proud of what they're all doing down there, and really proud of what's happening across the state. And the beauty of our work, it is a framework, it's not a program, and it's really customized to the local school community and how they want to tackle some of the greater challenges that are facing the kids in their community. In terms of our project and our role in this, let's see here. What we're doing currently, we're working on developing a train-the-trainer curriculum. We want to really empower and build the capacity statewide to go out and train other communities on how to do this work. And so we're working on a train-the-trainer curriculum currently. I'm really also very proud to say that we've been working very hard to identify more statewide resources through the Arkansas Community Resource Portal that you may or may not be familiar with, but it's a great resource that's getting more and more usage. Since the beginning of this year, we've not just identified, but we've confirmed and added to that Arkansas Resource Portal as of this week. We were shooting for 1,000 this year, and we're at 987 new resources statewide to support children, youth, and families across the state of Arkansas inside that resource portal. So it's being used currently by families that need help, but it's also being used by those agencies and organizations that work with families to identify other resources in counties and across the state to get more resources to families. And then again, just collaborating with those state, regional, and local partners. And we also have some national partners that are coming on board to support this work as well. So I'm really proud of the work and honored to be a part of this project, and really appreciate the opportunity to share with you all today. So we're going to begin some trainings. We're going to work with piloted training that we've been working on with Pottsville and Dardanelle here in the next few weeks. And then we're going to continue providing ongoing technical assistance for communities and continue working on building that statewide network for collaboration to support children and youth. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Every Arkansan and Tori.
Hello everyone, my name is Tori Martinez, and before I get started or continue on, I'm just very honored to be here and very excited to share about this partnership and what we get to do across the state. So who we are Every Arkansan. We are one name, two ministries serving Arkansas, and our vision is to see every Arkansan chase their God-given dreams. So how do we do that? We do that by providing resources, empowering people, and building relationships. And we're motivated by these three buckets: food security, educational enrichment, and community access. And so on the right, you notice the two names, our two ministries. One, we have our Arkansas Dream Center, which began in 2009, and then City Serve, which began in 2019, and I'll go more into that. So this is a year-to-date 2022 update. Notice Arkansas Dream Center. Again, we're motivated through food security and educational enrichment. So what that looks like for us is we have our mobile programming, one of our programs, where we go out into communities in Central Arkansas and directly do feeding, and we also do tutoring and just art programming where we do share the gospel and just love on people and just build and empower those relationships with the kids and families. And that's also with our after-school program. We have a after-school location in Little Rock, Arkansas. We also do feeding and tutoring, and through that we partner with PepsiCo Food for Good to provide meals. We also partner with the AmeriCorps to have AmeriCorps members to promote that tutoring with the students, just ultimately to empower them so that they can be more successful in the schools. And then we have our City Serve, again, which started in 2019. A few years ago, if not many years ago, the Arkansas Dream Center was donated a empty 3-story level warehouse. And so when City Serve came about, there was actually something to do something with that warehouse. And we partner with big corporations like Walmart, Costco, Wayfair, Amazon, of liquidated, overstocked, and returned items. Now that goes into this warehouse. And so what City Serve is, it's a network of local churches who just want to do more for their community, who are willing to do more, but sometimes they're not able. So City Serve is just that extra puzzle piece for churches to empower them that they were willing and now they are able to serve more in their communities. So when you think of gift and kind donations, you'll be thinking of a couch, a bed, a mattress, diapers, baby wipes, anything along those lines to meet needs within communities. And we always want to empower and encourage our local churches in the network to partner with schools and school districts and partner with other community-based organizations who have that direct relationship already with students in their communities. And some of these look like really big numbers, but we mainly don't want to focus on these numbers. We mainly want to focus on the one. It is all about the one, and the one is the student that we want to serve and ultimately meet the goal of meeting the needs of what school they attend. So on the left, you'll notice some of these partnerships or some of these connections that we want to make to meet the need of a student. So number 1, we have Bright Futures. Number 2, the local church through the City Serve Network. Number 3, the community-based organization. It doesn't just take us. It doesn't just take every Arkansan, Bright Futures. It takes a multitude of other organizations, faith-based and community-based. And on the last one, you notice educators. So when you think of the homeless liaison, a nurse, a counselor, a teacher, who have already, again, that direct relationship with the student that has a need that needs to be met. And so a lot of times when we hear of a need, we connect with the homeless liaison in that district to see if they fall under McKinney-Vento. And whether they do or not, our goal is to still build that relationship and still meet the need of that student so ultimately they can be successful in school. And so how that process works for us through Every Arkansan, on the right you'll notice number 1, scanning a QR code from a brochure. So we're always engaging and pushing out brochures and business cards to educators that we come in contact with, because they already, again, have that direct relationship with students where they know the need, they hear from the families on what's going on in their situation. And 2, submitting a need of a student. So an educator, if they are in contact with this QR code or reach out to one of us through Every Arkansan, we can give them that link of a Google form where they submit that need. So then we can further make those connections of what you see on the left on do they need to partner with the local church? Do they need to talk with the Bright Futures affiliate, what that looks like for them? Number 3, connect that need with the resource. And then number 4, again, to meet the need of a student. So next steps, again, this is what we push out to teachers, nurses, counselors, or whoever has a direct relationship with the student, is to scan the QR code. There's an option on there to submit the need where we, within 48 hours, that's our goal, to try to make connections the best way that we can. And then there's also an option on there to look at our EA heat map. So this just shows what churches are across the state through City Serve. And a lot of them are local small churches, again, who are willing and just want to be able to serve more students and families within their communities. And a lot of times I've had countless conversations, well, I want my local church to be involved, or I want my organization I'm a part of to be involved. And so a lot of times we'll encourage, okay, well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about City Serve. Let's see how you can partner with the local church in your area. Or sometimes there's not a local church, but how can we partner with another faith-based organization, another community-based organization, just like Bright Futures, just so we're all working together, all puzzle pieces to make just one big puzzle to meet the need of a student. And so I'm going to pass it on to Marius so he can share more about the partnership.
Good day, everybody. My name is Marius. Just a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having us. And I want to start off by just acknowledging the absolute class has been to work with these lovely people right here, but also throughout the department. And it's been awesome to see their professionalism at work. But even more for us was the heart behind it. And the heart was to really, like Chelsea spoke to help people to be able to send it out all this what we're doing to the one person, say how can we actually make a difference today, how can we actually help somebody. And with that heart behind it is that we all have the same perspective about doing a long-term plan that's sustainable, not just for these next 2 years, but after that, how can we empower the communities to have infrastructure in place to really, once we're gone, we're just the behind-the-scenes people, that the community is taking care of the kids again, the community, the local churches, the business owners, the people that are just on the block, they all can help each other out because we've given them the resources to do so. And it's just a pleasure that we get to be a tiny part of that. And one of the biggest things that we love to do is the collaboration between all of our 3 pillars. And before I pass it back to Ms. Jessica to finish this all out, because I know lunch is around the corner, but we love the webinars that we've done. We had Ms. Jessica offer training to all of our churches of how to identify homeless people in their congregation. We had Bright Futures getting to host us and come into their webinars, and just spreading the word of information. And I love the result of that is an increased identification, which is our first step, is how can we really find out who actually is in need. That's the first step. The second step is then to provide resources for those that are in need, and that's been just a kudos to you, Jessica, for making that happen. That's fantastic. We had David will be paying, and we brought in churches and educators to educate them as well, to give them another tool in their toolbox. And our heartbeat is to support families in crisis. And I want to share a quick story, and I'm off and pass it off to you. But in Northwest Arkansas, we had a family of 6. They were living in a rental home. Things were going okay. They were just going to school, pretty normal life. Then the owner of the house said, "Hey, I want to sell my house. You got like two months to get out of here so I can sell it." During the as things are right now, it's hard to find rental or buying houses, or rental is just out through the roof right now. So they couldn't find a new place to live. So in the process of going from the safe and secure housing, they lost that. They couldn't really store their stuff anywhere, so they had to give all the stuff up, moved into a hotel for an extended stay at the hotel. So now we have a family living in a hotel by themselves. That's what we're talking about. And now, luckily, we had a homeless liaison at Hope Academy reach out to Bright Futures and Everett Kansas and us at this collaborative effort and say, "Hey, I need some help." So we were able to contact them immediately, help them out immediately. Bright Futures does a fantastic job providing needs in about 24 hours. And then we started getting on a back work started on the churches, so we were able to provide a bed, a couch, like household items for the new place. As they found a new place, we were able to furnish that for them to the local church. But again, the biggest thing to me is that after all this is done, we have a family now that's connected with the local community. So that next time, when it comes to those short passes where you're like, "What am I going to do now?" They have somebody to call. They have a local church that helped them out last time. Well, let me give them a shot. They have a homeless liaison that they knew. "Hey, last time I came to them, they actually came and helped me out. Let me go back to them before it comes to the crisis." So that's our long-term plan, to help identify those that are experiencing homelessness, provide actual resources that help them out, but then also have a preventative network in place that allows them to next time fall back to and rely on relationships with one another to prevent those things from escalating to the point that it has in the past. So that's all I have. I'm passing it back to Ms. Jessica.
Hey, Morris, before you leave, I want you to share with the board your story about the young man who came and helped the person who couldn't read and tutored, and then got him back to read level, how that changed his whole life.
Sure. So we have at our after-school facility, we had a student who was going into was in the 3rd grade, I think the first quarter of the 3rd grade, and he was I think at 3 grades behind on reading. So it was really, and for us as a Dream Center, at the tutoring component, we know that 3rd grade mark is where we really want to get them on target, because statistically we know if you don't, where it's going to lead. So we had a volunteer come in who's grown up, couldn't read himself, and I think the age of like 30, taught himself slowly how to read himself, and it was just a passion of his. Now he's retired now, so he showed up every day from there on out, and he walked in and said, "Hey, give me a worse reader." Now, we don't qualify like that, but we say, "Hey, we have somebody you could help." So we kind of redirected him a little bit, but he ended up showing up every day to read with this young boy, every day for 30 minutes. Now, I know the boy wasn't the biggest fan of it, because he's like, "I'm here, come on, we're reading now instead of playing basketball or something." But at the end of this whole school year, he was back on reading grade. But also the teachers were telling us, because we visit the schools every Thursday, that he actually stood up in class and wanted to read in front of everybody. So we were able to take somebody who's not even confident in reading and being way behind to get him back on track. And you guys all know this is about the one-on-one time that we don't have enough people to do that, and we're working. It's still a problem for us, but we just love getting a small part of the process and partnering with educators, partnering with other partners in the Department of Education to really move things forward as best as we can, one person at a time.
Excellent.
Okay, so just to kind of bring everything back together, our goal is to meet student needs comprehensively. We can't just look at one aspect of it and think that that's going to fix it. We want to make sure that we are serving the whole child. We start with McKinney-Vento services because it's a federal law. Those are requirements. Those are things that they're entitled to. And that begins with identification, making sure that we know who these students are so that we can serve them. And then knowing what they need, making sure that our needs assessments are accurate and that we are giving them things that are going to help them and not things that we think are good for them. And then the last part of that is meeting those needs, using our community resources like Bright Futures and Every Arkansan to provide those wraparound services and to actually meet those needs. A lot of times my liaisons will come to me and say, we have this issue or we have this problem, and I know it's not covered under McKinney-Vento, but what can we do? And we'll go down the list. We'll start with the community resource portal. I'll text these guys and say, do you have a representative in that area? And it just snowballs into individualized help and services. Just overall, this is way more than I ever thought I'd be able to do in my first year being here, and I have loved every single minute of it. And kind of like Chelsea said, it's so important, and you feel that when you start doing this work. And I just want to thank the hard work that everybody has put in on this. So, and thank you guys for hearing us this morning.
Excellent, excellent. Yes, we appreciate it so much, and the work that you're doing for students. And I can see your hearts, each one of you. Your heart are with the students and with the families, and so we appreciate that. Thank you.
I got to make a comment because I heard fasting is good for us. I want to keep you here a little bit longer. I want to connect the dots on the power of this board and the power of your backgrounds, because I know there are times that you're here and you're thinking, how do I connect with this? So Dr. Hill made the entire board one day go to CityServe to tour the facilities, and we were all blown away. And people from the department went. I don't think Deb went with us that first time, but then I came back and said, Deb, you gotta go see this. And then she sent a team, and Chelsea. And so there was a connection to the community that forced us to get out there and see what's out there for us. Chelsea, I can remember when you started talking about this CJ Huff guy. I heard his name like over and over and over, and got excited about the things that you were seeing with Bright Futures and the connection there in school districts and about community health. And I know Dr. Huff doesn't share this about himself because he doesn't lead with it, but this comes from a deep passion. He was superintendent in Joplin, Missouri in 2011 when the community was devastated. And he helped lead that school district and community through that tough time. And now he consults nationally with communities in the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services to support communities going through tragedy. So this concept of community matters is deep. And so he's also helped with the school safety team this last week. He took a host of our own folks there. I mean, huge person. So thank you for your service and your work. Y'all stand up. This whole row right here, stand up. Fitz, stand up. Deb, that's you too. Because of this connection, because of the connection of Dr. Hill, because of the connection of Dr. Huff, because of the connection of the CityServe folks, Chelsea, because of you bringing everybody together, Deb thinking creatively about our state funds. We have kids who have been fed, we have families who have been housed, we have people who have been delivered mattresses, diapers, hygiene goods. We have citizens in the state who are given a second chance by working in your warehouse. It's a ministry of service, and it happened here at the Department of Education because it started with a board member who drug us to a warehouse. So thank you guys, appreciate it.
anything else to add on that component of it, but I just want to, Marius, of course, I know Marius well. He's on staff at New Life and works closely with Dr. Hill, and definitely see the heart that he and Ms. Martinez have on a regular basis for this work. And I'm glad, Stacy, you mentioned Dr. Huff's story, so I was going to mention it as well. But ideas born of catastrophe and tragedy, and out of those things come ideas and outcomes that affect not just that community, but now nationwide, and especially here in Arkansas. So, and wouldn't happen without a leadership of Ms. Kaufman saying yes. Sometimes the best thing we can do is say yes, and I appreciate that, Deb. Thank you. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about is I had a little bit more to go over on Pine Bluff. Ms. Newton and I talked about the Limited Authority Board and the process for the interviews. Next month, also part of this work will be a recommendation on what the structure of that Limited Authority Board will look like. So we will bring you a formal recommendation, but I want to give you this information now just so you can be mulling over it. But we anticipate that the recommendation will involve the Limited Authority Board attending the School Board Association training role of a board member before they actually begin participating in votes and recommendations. And once the Limited Authority Board have been trained, and the idea is they will operate as a board, conducting monthly meetings, reviewing all the items that a school board typically reviews, and then initially making recommendations to me for final approval. So it's similar to what I think maybe one of you, I think Ms. Newton, you might be the only one left, but if you will remember in Helena, West Helena, Mr. Hoy led the Community Advisory Board then through that process. It worked out very well, and it established good procedures for them. And so that's what we will look to continue with that, with this thought with Pine Bluff. And then continuous embedded school board training will be part of each monthly meeting, and that will be organized by OCSS. And then in our quarterly Level 5 reports to the state board, Stacy will address the progress of the board. And so in the idea of gradual release, as progress, as training is accomplished, as progress is made, then there will be we would propose that we bring back other authorities that we begin to turn back over to them. And with the goal that eventually a full release for all authority. No timeline on that, because we really want to see how the training progresses and how the work progresses there. But then the intent is for this board to be functioning and conducting that business as soon as possible after the new year. So we'll get this, these recommendations will be happening, interviews will be happening from the committee this week, bringing the appointees to the school board or the state board in December, and then this recommendation for setting up the framework for that limited authority. One thing that I think is important, that the superintendent appointment, decisions on employment of the superintendent and evaluation will remain with the commissioner. That's what we're thinking at this point, until such time as we release the board for full authority. So any questions on that? Obviously, we'll have more formalized information for you for December.
Any questions or comments?
It is a 7-member board. There are 7 zones, and those zones have already been established. So, and just as a breakdown, they're in 3 zones, zones 1, 3, and 5. Those zones had 2 applicants. And in zones 2, 4, 6, and 7, there were between 5 and 7 applicants for each one. So it's committee's work is going to be tough, because I have looked at the resumes, and I think I am encouraged by the level, quality, the heart of the applicants that have submitted. So I look forward to hearing from the committee. All right. The next thing, y'all remember our trip to Crystal Bridges, and I've mentioned this before, but we now have these that are in distribution, but a Arkansas Kids Guide to the U.S. Constitution and Bill of Rights. This is, has been published in conjunction with the timing, anyway, of the exhibit at Crystal Bridges. So I'm going to pass these out. We also have an instructional guide, so teachers will be receiving this to help guide their work through this booklet, but it's a very kid-friendly guide, and it's targeted to grades, what? 2 through 7. Okay, 2 through 7. So I'm going to pass these out, and we have some extras here that if you'd like to take extras, if you have any kids that fit that, grandkids or children that fit that, you can certainly take those with you or share them with others.
Are districts automatically getting these, or do they have to request them?
They are going through the co-ops.
Okay.
Being distributed to the co-ops. Actually, yesterday after the meeting, the team was unloading several, looked like dozens and dozens of boxes for Archford Co-op. So those will be distributed in that manner. Okay. So, any questions on that? The last week, I also want to report on Dr. Pfeffer, Ms. Smith, and I were able to attend. I think this is the first time we've ever actually been able to attend all at the same time. The annual policy forum for CCSSO, Council of Chief State School Officers. We also got to hear from the National Teacher of the Year, a very dynamic speaker, a very great story. He's actually a teacher at the school that he attended, Overland High School, Overland, Ohio. Just a tremendous story that he has. I also was able to present on the Arkansas Teacher Corps, and there's a lot of interest on that from other states, so very proud of the work that our team's done setting that up, Dr. Wally and others who have been involved in that. So I think we do have something that has been established as an example for other states to look at. We also heard a number of reports looking at NAEP scores and discussions of that. My takeaway is that Arkansas is well poised to launch from where we are, based on one that we've been having in-person classes now. This is the second full school year. We have things in place with our HQIM, high quality instructional materials, our professional development, our inclusive practices, and we have a lot of elements working together that I think we stand to accelerate faster than some of the other states. I look forward over the next couple of years to see that actually bear out. But all the states are dealing with very similar issues, and they have very different challenges in how they're addressing those issues. So I feel good about that. And then finally, the Arkansas Teacher Residency, we are getting tremendous feedback, tremendous participation in that. And I don't have copies for everyone, but I think we're getting those. Ross has those ready for us. Good. But our team developed this. It is tremendous, and it really is a guidebook for following along. The teacher residency gives information about how to access it, what the details are, the residency apprenticeship. I mean, you name it, it's in here, and gives contact information to get follow-up information for any component of this that people are interested in. So I'm very, Ross, you want to say anything about it, or Carly, y'all want to talk about it real briefly?
Ross White, Director of Division of Career and Technical Education. One, that's a draft. So we are still very much a work in progress on it. Next week is National Apprenticeship Week, just for some random knowledge. And then actually Friday, November 18th is National Apprenticeship Week. They celebrate public service apprenticeships. And so our goal is to be able to release information out through Commissioner's Memo, and then some other pieces across the state about our registered apprenticeship. Our goal is to really be able to roll out with next fall. We want to make sure we have it right and it works well, and make sure that our education preparation programs, our co-ops, and then our districts that are all three going to be heavily involved in this understand their role and what it's going to be, because we're getting into a whole new world of language with journeyman and RTI. That's not the RTI we know, but another version of RTI, and on-the-job training pieces, and we really want to make sure we educate all the stakeholder parties that are involved in what the process will look like. But we look at it as another great pathway in our Arkansas teacher residency piece to have this actual registered apprenticeship exist within there.
And I think you should say we're one of, what, seven?
We're only
Across
7
the
states
country.
right now that have a
Wow.
registered K-12 teacher occupation register with the USDOL. So,
Awesome.
This is other funds through the Department of Labor that will be utilized for this, and so I think that's exciting.
Thank you. All right, Stacy, you were up here, and then did I forget to ask you, did I cover everything I needed to cover on Pine Bluff? All right,
Yeah.
good.
Go back to CCSSO. I think you were honored there with a position that you kind of skipped over that.
Well, I figured you already knew about that.
Well, why don't you tell us again?
I don't know anything about
So I was elected by my peers to be the president-elect from CCSSO. So that means this year I'll be president-elect and will elevate to president the following year. And honored to serve in that capacity and represent the state.
Congratulations. We're very proud of you and the hard work that you do for education. I think it can't be said enough that how much we appreciate you. All right, let's see. I've lost my agenda in all of this. Let's see. Ms. Freno, do we have any more public comment? Okay. All right, so I'm ready for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right. Motion by Mr. Sutton, a second? Second. Seconded by Mr. Henderson. All right, all in favor? And we are adjourned. Thank y'all for being here, and thank you for all that you do.